trying to collect as much evidence as they can to connect the dots. Now, Anuj, we were also hearing yesterday from the police and from our various sources that they seem to suspect that there could be other people who are involved in this murder. What are you hearing on that part of it?
For that particular cause only, this particular investigation of the friends and the visit, if we talk about whether it is being about in Rishikesh, whether it is being about in Himachal, all being looked up by the Delhi police official. They are going ahead with the investigation and looking deep into this angle also. Was there any other people, was there anyone who was also involved or was in touch with Aaftab or was knowing about the fact that Aaftab can do such kind of criminal activity? That is something on what police at this point in time is focusing, but till now there is no existence like that. Till now the police is not claiming yes, there was someone else who was also involved, but this can never be denied that police is looking into the same angle. Yes, back to you.
Absolutely, Anuj. So as you're pointing out, the police still trying to essentially piece together all the details in this particular case. This is, of course, is a murky murder case that dates back to almost 6 months ago when Aaftab, by his own self-admission, had killed his live-in partner, Shraddha, on the 18th of May. Anuj has been bringing us all those details. Anuj, for the moment, thank you. All right, now the police, of course, today also will focus on trying to get as much evidence as they can do. Remember that they are only working on whatever the main accused in this particular case, Aaftab, has so far told them. You are watching Republic TV, and still to come, the former US President Donald Trump enters the 2024 poll fray, says, "We'll fight for America like never before." And as Russia steps up its attack on Ukraine, 2 missiles reportedly strayed into neighboring Poland.
Security forces have busted a major plot of the terror groups to carry out a major terror strike within the Jammu city, and 2 IDs have been busted by the Jammu police.
IT department is conducting search in Greater Kailash 2, which is in the national capital. A ₹1 crore cash has been seized. First pictures of Aaftab inside the prison in connection with the horrific murder that took place in the national capital.
आफताब श्रद्धा को क्यों मारा? आफताब श्रद्धा को क्यों मारा? आफताब बता, देखो आफताब दिख रहा है, देखो मुंह छिपा रहा है अपना, कुछ भी बोल नहीं रहा है, मुंह छिपा रहा है, अभी से पछतावा हो रहा है आफताब को, लेकिन कुछ बोलने से बच रहा है।
Will the opposition change the game?
भाजपा का जाने का टाइम आ गया है। अब गुजरात के अंदर नई राजनीति होगी। 27 साल से जो ये लोग लूट रहे थे, अब इसको बंद करने का टाइम आ गया।
Will the BJP buck the trend?
ગુજરાતને નફરત ફેલાવનારા લોકો એમને ગુજરાત ક્યારે સ્વીકાર કરતું? જેમણે ગુજરાતને બદનામ કરવાની કોશિશ કરી છે, આ ગુજરાતની જનતા એમને વાળી છોડીને સાફ કરી નાખ્યા છે.
December 8th with Arnab.
Prime Minister right now is meeting with the diaspora. He's been given a traditional welcome.
Bail has been granted to actor Jacqueline Fernandez in the 200 crore scam.
Tamil Nadu, where the state police is conducting searches in the residence of a few people on the suspicion that they have links with the ISIS.
यहीं पर आफताब पूनावाला आता था और रात के 2 बजे लगातार वो 20 दिनों तक यही करता था।
Welcome back. You are watching Republic TV, and news that's coming in on the Shraddha murder case seems to suggest that the police are looking perhaps at conducting a narco test on the main accused in this particular case. This is an attempt by the police to join the missing links. I think the police is trying to establish the chain of events. Do remember that this is taking place after the police have been trying to piece together evidence and essentially be able to put that before court to get a conviction in this case. We are given to understand that narco test is one of the things that they are looking at perhaps right now. The police will be conducting a narco test on Aaftab Poonawala. However, do remember that a narco test essentially is not admissible in court. So all it does is that it helps the police get more leads into what really happened, and it will help them be able to establish the chain of events, perhaps look at things like the murder weapon in this particular case or the weapon that Aaftab says he used to essentially dispose of the remains of Shraddha Walkar in this case. Today, what we are expecting from this investigation, of course, is that Anuj, who was reporting from the Mehroli police station, told us a while ago that Aaftab Poonawala will be making his way again to the home in Mehroli where he was staying with his live-in partner Shraddha Walkar, whom he killed allegedly. The police, of course, are also trying to get a DNA analysis done of the bones and the remains that they have recovered from the forest area of Mehroli. You are watching Republic TV. We're going to get you more details on this.
Will the opposition change the game?
भाजपा का जाने का टाइम आ गया है। अब गुजरात के अंदर नई राजनीति होगी। 27 साल से जो ये लोग लूट रहे थे, अब इसको बंद करने का टाइम आ गया।
Will the BJP buck the trend?
ગુજરાતને નફરત ફેલાવનારા લોકો એમને ગુજરાત ક્યારે સ્વીકાર કરતું? જેમણે ગુજરાતને બદનામ કરવાની કોશિશ કરી છે, આ ગુજરાતની જનતા એમને વાળી છોડીને સાફ કરી નાખ્યા છે.
December 8th with Arnab.
Prime Minister right now is meeting with the diaspora. He's been given a traditional welcome.
Bail has been granted to actor Jacqueline Fernandez in the 200 crore scam.
Tamil Nadu, where the state police is conducting searches in the residence of a few people on the suspicion that they have links with the ISIS.
यहीं पर आफ्ताब पूनावाला आता था और रात के 2 बजे लगातार वो 20 दिनों तक यही करता था। अलग अलग जगहों पर उन कंकालों को फेंकता था, उन टुकड़ों को फेंकता था। यहीं से 50 मीटर की दूरी पर आफ्ताब मौजूद है इन्वेस्टिगेटिव ऑफिसर के साथ, और वो बता रहा है कि कहां पर उसने उन टुकड़ों को दफनाया है, कहां पर फेंका है।
Security forces have busted a major plot of the terror groups to carry out a major terror strike within the Jammu city, and 2 IDs have been busted by the Jammu police.
IT department is conducting search in Greater Kailash 2, which is in the national capital. Now, rupees 1 crore cash has been seized. First pictures of Aaftab inside the prison in connection with the horrific murder that took place in the national capital.
Who has more at stake? Whose promises resonate?
कांग्रेस के समय में घोटाले गिनना मुश्किल है और भाजपा के समय में घोटाले ढूंढना मुश्किल है.
And who will make it on counting day?
इनको वोट दोगे, ये आपके बच्चों को जहरीली शराब पिलाएंगे। मुझे वोट दोगे, मैं आपके बच्चों के लिए स्कूल बनाऊंगा, आपके बच्चों को नौकरी दूंगा।
डबल इंजन की सिर्फ बातें हैं, आगे बढ़ाने की कोई बात नहीं।
December 8th with Arnab.
Good morning and thank you very much for staying with us on Republic TV. This is Live and Breaking. I'm Nupur Talwar Suri. We begin with a look at the headlines. India takes the lead at the G20 summit, back-to-back engagements and bilaterals at the G20 for Prime Minister Modi. The picture that speaks 1,000 words about India's stature as world leaders salute India's leadership. Missile strike, Poland killing 2 US suspects. It could have been from Ukraine and not from Russia.
In order to make America great and glorious again, I am tonight announcing my candidacy for President of the United States.
Donald Trump makes it official. He will run against Joe Biden in the 2024 US presidential polls. Killer Aaftab is to be put through a narco test to establish the chain of events and missing evidences. Cash for ticket scandal hits the Aam Aadmi Party ahead of the MCD elections. The Aam Aadmi Party's MLA, family members and associates are arrested. Well, the big lead that we are getting into the Shraddha murder case seems to suggest that a narco test will likely be performed on the main accused in this case, Aaftab Poonawalla, to establish the missing chain of events. Now, what we are hearing is that the police are still trying to piece together the entire sequence of events as well as gather evidence against the main accused in this case, Aaftab Poonawalla. One of the things that the police is now looking at is a narco test to be able to establish the chain of events and to be able to establish where he disposed of all the evidence in this case, because evidence is going to be extremely essential for the police to establish its case before the court of law. He, of course, continues to remain in police custody for now, but the police are trying to piece together this jigsaw puzzle. Now, do remember that the police is still acting on his self-confession and trying to gather evidences after he confessed to have killed his live-in partner, Shraddha. Madhurima is joining us live. She has more details on this now. Madhurima, we are now hearing that the police is looking at conducting a narco test in this. Now, the basic aim obviously is going to be able to understand this chain of events, because a narco test essentially is not admissible as evidence in court.
Well, yes, absolutely, Nupur. And why the narco test is available right now, it's because Aaftab's statement lacks consistency. Because in his statement, he has said that Shraddha left him around 18th, but then the police has been tracking multiple evidence as far as digital evidence is concerned linked to Shraddha's phone. And when those transactions are, were traced back, they trace back to again the Mehroli area. So what that indicates is that that Aaftab was trying to mislead people into believing the fact that Shraddha is alive and that yes, she's making transactions, monetary transactions, or she's posting pictures. So she's doing all that, and now the police is likely to conduct this particular narco test so as to make sure that what really happened, what is the real timeline, because that needs to be that needs to be put forth in front of the court for further investigation and for further custody of Aaftab. Right now we're reporting from the forest area, and request my camera person to move on and give you the picture that how this entire area has been enveloped by barricades so that nobody is allowed inside, because this entire area is now a piece of evidence, because this is where Aaftab is also likely to be brought here today for once again by the Delhi police officials to find the body parts that were disposed here by Aaftab. And as you can see, request my camera person to move forward and show you that initially it's a pile of garbage and then it is a very, very dense forest inside Nupur. Now what's developing today is that the police is also expected to take Aaftab back to his residence in the area of Chhatarpur, that is D93/1, that is his address, and there they're going to recreate the entire scene, the entire murder scene, so as to have a better understanding of what really transpired that fateful night of May 18th, as what Aaftab had confessed in his initial confession. Now we have to wait and watch as to what really comes out of it, because these are the developing news. First, that the entire scene will be recreated at his residence in Chhatarpur. Second, a narco test is likely, because the Delhi police wants to gather more and more evidence to strengthen this particular case, Nupur. We'll have to, the day has just started. In any time now, Aaftab will be taken from Mehruli police station to either of these two places, either the forest or the residence, because both the things need to be done today to gather the evidence, because the police custody is coming to an end.
Absolutely. Madhurima, do stay with us. I'm also going to go across right now to Anuj, who's reporting from outside the Mehroli police station. Now, Anuj, there are, as Madhurima was also talking about, there seem to be a lot of inconsistencies, and that's going to be a major challenge for the police, given the fact that, at this point in time, at least, they seem to still be relying on that self-confession that Aaftab made, and thereafter looking for evidences to try and piece together really what happened.
Well, if we talk about the procedure and if we talk about the legalities, then police also understanding the same, that only confession is not going to work in the court. So they need to have more substantial evidence, and on that only the police investigating a team is investigating the matter. If we talk about the investigation, then narco is going to play the most important role now, because it is tomorrow when police is going to produce Aaftab in front of the court. So prior to that, let me remind you that 3 days prior, it was the permission which was sought by the Delhi police officials for the narco test. Now what we have been told, it is most likely to happen today, so that they can have the concrete evidences, so that they can put the concrete things in front of the court tomorrow. Other than that, if we talk about the DNA sampling, then that also what we have been told is going to happen. The father will be called, and the DNA matching will be done. That is something also going to be very, very important. 4 friends of Aaftab, what I have been told, is also being called by the Delhi police official. They are going to be questioned. They are going to be questioned regarding the happening, what has happened, the mindset, the strategy. The police is also looking into an angle whether there was anyone else who was also involved with Aaftab. Was it a pre-planned murder? And if anyone else was also involved, then how it was planned. On the other side, let me also remind you, the police is also looking into the angle when we are talking about the visits which was done by the couple, whether being it in Rishikesh or whether being it in Himachal. So police is also looking into that angle. If you talk about the latest of today, I'm reporting from the Mehroli police station. Aaftab is very much here inside. So now he will be taken out for recreation. He will be there at the residence where the couple were living. He will be taken to the forest area where the body part has been found. So this is all going to be the part of the investigation. We are expecting more development today. Yes, back to you.
All right, Anuj, do stay with us. Also joining me from our New Delhi studios is Nivedana. Nivedana, so lots of evidences, of course, being looked upon even as we speak, and it's looking like the Delhi police are widening the probe in a sense to ensure that they don't miss out on anything.
Absolutely, Nupur, and I'm going to take that, latest development and question back to Madhurima. Madhurima, of course, you are continuing to track the story. You've been reporting from the Mehroli forest as well. In a sense of that latest development, where does the investigation stand currently? We did see them trying to recreate that entire scene as well yesterday. So if you could give us more latest inputs about where that investigation stands.
Well, yes, absolutely. Now, investigation is at a very crucial point, because the police confession would not be enough to be produced in front of the court, because the court would need more, concrete evidence. As of now, the police have circumstantial evidence that has been put forth by Aaftab. Now, the second thing that would strengthen the case would be the DNA sampling, that, like my colleague Anuj was telling, that the number of body body parts, specifically bones that have been recovered from this dreadful area where Aaftab went in the night. We are bringing you the visuals of those that this forest area over here where Aaftab used to come at 2 a.m. around in the night and then dispose those body parts that he had chopped off. And now the police are going to conduct a narco test and in which they might get some leads, because Aaftab's confessions have been misleading, because initially he said that she broke up. Then he said when the grilling was aggravated by the police officials, he said that then he confessed that no, he committed the crime. But in that entire timeline, he has misled the police multiple times by saying that she was active online, she was doing monetary transactions, but the police officials have traced everything back to that particular...
Madhurima, stay with us. We also have SP Vaid, the former DGP of Jammu and Kashmir, joining us in the broadcast. Mr. Vaid, thank you for talking to us on Republic TV. Now, of course, the investigation is at a very crucial stage with the fact that narco test is going to be likely done for Aaftab Poonawalla to, of course, establish the missing chain of events and evidences. So how do you view that? And if you could give us your viewpoint as well.
I think when alleged accused is shifting his statements from one to the other, a narco test is one of the way to elicit actual truth from him. And I think it will be useful as a corroborative evidence and to link all the events together because the investigation will have to base the investigation on scientific lines, including DNA testing of the bone, blood, and so the murder is linked. So all these would be very helpful as investigating tools. So I think narco test is a right decision by the Delhi police investigators.
SP Vaid also talking about this particular kind of act. It's of course a gruesome, heinous act as well. In your entire police career, if you could talk to us about when such incidents happen, what is the mindset of such accused as well?
See, accused to a person like Aaftab, I think these are very, very inhuman state of mind. The kind of in the process of saving his skin, such accused could go to any extent. Otherwise, for a normal person to think of killing somebody you were in a relationship with and cutting her into 36 parts is unimaginable for a normal human being. And it is the psychology of the accused that is prevalent at that time is actually quite different from a normal human being. A normal human being would not indulge, even think of such a thing. And the psychology of a accused like Aaftab is very, very different from a normal human being. So I think the investigation should be based on it is one of the rarest of the rare case and must get death penalty. So the investigation should be based on scientific lines.
Right, SP Vaid, we appreciate you talking to us on Republic TV. Well, that was the former Jammu and Kashmir DGP, of course, stating that, of course, the narco test also will aid in this investigation. We, of course, have Madhurima and Anuj tracking this particular story for us. Anuj, coming back to you, in terms of the fact that, of course, the narco test on one hand, but you also pointed out that they would be visiting Aaftab's house to recreate the entire scene. If you could tell us in terms of that development, will the recreation of the take place first and will the narco test take place after that? Is that what we're learning so far?
Well, this is going to happen when the police team along with Aaftab is going to leave from this particular police station. That's Mehrauli police station from where I am reporting. let me tell you, if we talk about and if we understand this particular movement and investigation of the police that has been done, then yes, this is a 5 days custody which has been given to the police. So police doing the investigation and questioning again and again Aaftab. We need to understand that the Aaftab is not cooperating, rather he is changing his statement again and again, and that's why for more crucial evidences, for more evidences and static evidences, we should say, the police is trying to go for the narco test also, so that they can prove it in the front of the court also, because they need to have the substantial evidences to produce it in front of the court. So this is all the part of the investigation. When we are talking about this particular movement, then yes, police has understand it, and this has been informed to the police officials by Aaftab that how he was doing this crime, how he has planned the same, how the refrigerator was bought in, how he used to cut the body into the pieces, he used to open the shower, put the pieces under the shower for some time so that the blood stain can be removed, so that he can cut it easily. This all is the information which has been given to us by the sources in the Delhi police. So this is all going to be the part of investigation when police need to understand, is going to understand and collect the evidences from the same area, and that is why this particular movement is going to happen, what we have been told, from police station to the residence and to the jungle part where the body parts were thrown. So this is all going to be the part of the investigation, and as yes, we do know tomorrow is the date, tomorrow is the day when he will be produced in front of the court. So today it is going to be very, very important if we talk about the movement and collecting the evidences. Yes.
Right, Anuj, stay with us. Madhurima, coming back to you with the fact that, of course, we're learning that the Delhi police is still searching for parts of Shraddha's body at the forest. But on the other hand, if you also look at the chain of events, because initially they were in Mumbai, then they did go to Himachal Pradesh for that particular holiday, and then they, of course, settled in that place in Chhatrapur. So does it seem, or rather suggest, that this could have also been what it seems like a pre-planned murder?
Well, absolutely, and the police officials are not ruling out this particular conspiracy, that it could be a pre-planned conspiracy to commit this heinous crime, because first they leave Mumbai, then they reach Himachal for a vacation, and then they come here in the national capital, then they stay in a hotel for a night, following which they then go to a hostel, and then he settles in Chhatrapur, and in just 2 days he kills her. So this doesn't seem like more of an impromptu event that took place. It does smell of conspiracy. Rest we'll have to wait and watch as to what Delhi police says. Back to you.
All right. Thank you, Madhurima, and thank you, Anuj, for getting us the latest on that. Of course, we'll keep coming back to you as we continue to track this particular story right here on Republic TV. But moving on to more breaking news that's coming in right now. We're getting visuals over there of Union Home Minister Amit Shah, who's holding a mega rally in Ahmedabad in Gujarat, along with the Gujarat Chief Minister as well. So those are the first visuals that are coming in on your screens, where Amit Shah is currently in Ahmedabad holding a mega rally. For more on this, we're joined in by Priyanka. Priyanka, we of course see those visuals coming in of Union Home Minister Amit Shah at this mega rally. What more can you tell us? What is lined up for the day?
Well, that's right. These are the visuals of the rally that is being carried out by the Union Minister Amit Shah along with the Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel, who are in fact on their way to file for the candidate papers of Ghatlodia for Bhupendra Patel right now, so that the campaigning in fact will be in full swing from today itself. And we are seeing that, in fact, this is the flagging off of the campaigning that is being done with the in the presence of the Union Minister Amit Shah as well. In fact, we had just a few minutes ago as well heard Amit Shah addressing the workers of the BJP and speaking to them about the kind of achievements that the BJP has to boast of over the past several decades that they have been in government here, at least in the state of Gujarat, and also not just of Gujarat, but also speaking about the kind of work that the Prime Minister has done since the time that he has left the state of Gujarat as the Chief Minister in 2014 to take the role of the Prime Minister in Delhi. And since then, the kind of work that he has done was reiterated today by Amit Shah in the presence of hundreds of BJP workers in Ghattodia who had been there to listen in to the Union Minister and the Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel as well, who had also addressed the workers and spoken to them about how they will be working and how they will be campaigning in the next coming few weeks before the elections take place in the first and the second phase on 1st and 5th of December respectively. Of course, we will see Ghattodia going into elections in the second phase of elections on 5th of December, and that is why we are seeing that today, 16th of December, is when Bhupendra Patel is going in to file for his candidate selection, since tomorrow is the last date for the same. And we are seeing that at least in Ghattodia.
और इसके बाद जो एग्जिट पॉइंट आता है ये वजीराबाद बैराज का 126 फीडर पॉइंट्स हैं और उसके बाद ये सब नजफगढ़ नाला जो है वो यमुना में मिलता है। जो टेस्ट के आंकड़े आए हैं ये आपके समक्ष सबसे पहले मैं रख दूं। पल्ला इस मैप में अगर आप देखेंगे तो सबसे पहले जो है यहां पे दिखाया है एंट्री पॉइंट होता है पल्ला। पल्ला में जो फीकल कॉलिफॉर्म, जो मल की बात मैंने करी, नल में मल, जल में मल, मापदंड है कि डिजायरेबल है। फाइव 500 होगा 100 मिलीलीटर पानी में, ये नोट करिएगा। दूसरा टर्म है बायोकेमिकल ऑक्सीजन डिमांड। ये बड़ा महत्वपूर्ण मापदंड है। और तीसरा है डिसॉल्व्ड ऑक्सीजन। डिसॉल्व्ड ऑक्सीजन जो है ये सुनिश्चित करता है जो अंडर वाटर लाइफ है उसको सपोर्ट करे। तो पल्ला में जब एंट्री होती है यमुना की, जो एंट्री पॉइंट है, ये तीनों जो है मापदंड, द डिसॉल्व्ड ऑक्सीजन, बायोकेमिकल ऑक्सीजन डिमांड और फीकल कॉलिफॉर्म, ये तीनों के तीनों जो मापदंड है उसके तहत हैं। और जैसे जैसे आईएसबीटी ब्रिज और असगरपुर, और सीधा असगरपुर पे आ जाते हैं, जो डिसॉल्व्ड ऑक्सीजन 8.8 मिलीग्राम है वो घट के कितना हो जाता है? जीरो। दूसरा जो बायोकेमिकल ऑक्सीजन डिमांड है जो 2.5 mg पे थी और ये 75 तक पहुंच जाती है, 75 तक। और जो सबसे महत्वपूर्ण बात अब मैं रखने जा रहा हूं, तीसरा जो मल की बात करी, 500 हमने बताया था, डिजायरेबल है। जब एंट्री करती है 2000 के लेवल तक ये चल सकता है, तो ये 1200 है स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट, 2500 है मैक्सिमम परमिसिबल लिमिट, 500 है डिजायरेबल, ये 1200 है एंट्री पॉइंट पे। असगरपुर में ये 6,10,000, 6,10,000। आप सोचिए 1200 गुना ज्यादा, ये क्या दर्शाता है?
And still to come on Republic TV, we'll get you the latest developments as Union Home Minister Amit Shah is holding a mega rally in Ahmedabad in Gujarat with the Gujarat Chief Minister. Stay tuned.
यहीं पर आफ्ताब पूनावाला आता था और रात के 2 बजे लगातार वो 20 दिनों तक यही करता था। अलग अलग जगहों पर उन कंकालों को फेंकता था, उन टुकड़ों को फेंकता था। यहीं से 50 मीटर की दूरी पर आफ्ताब मौजूद है इन्वेस्टिगेटिव ऑफिसर के साथ और वो बता रहा है कि कहां पर उसने उन टुकड़ों को दफनाया है, कहां पर फेंका है।
Security forces have busted a major plot of the terror groups to carry out a major terror strike within the Jammu city, and 2 IDs have been busted by the Jammu police.
IT department is conducting search in Greater Kailash 2, which is in the national capital. Now, ₹1 crore cash has been seized. First pictures of Aaftab inside the prison in connection with the horrific murder that took place in the national capital.
श्रद्धा को क्यों मारा? आफ्ताब श्रद्धा को क्यों मारा? आफ्ताब बता, देखो आफ्ताब दिख रहा है, देखो मुंह छिपा रहा है अपना, कुछ भी बोल नहीं रहा है, मुंह छिपा रहा है। अभी से पछतावा हो रहा है आफ्ताब को, लेकिन कुछ बोलने से बच रहा है।
Will the opposition change the game?
भाजपा का जाने का टाइम आ गया है। अब गुजरात के अंदर नई राजनीति होगी। 27 साल से जो ये लोग लूट रहे थे, अब इसको बंद करने का टाइम आ गया।
Will the BJP buck the trend?
ગુજરાતને નફરત ફેલાવનારા લોકો એમને ગુજરાત ક્યારે સ્વીકાર કરતું? જેમણે જેમણે ગુજરાતને બદનામ કરવાની કોશિશ કરી છે, આ ગુજરાતની જનતા એમને વાળી છોડીને સાફ કરી નાખ્યા છે.
December 8th with Arnab.
Prime Minister right now is meeting with the diaspora.
Well, we're getting in visuals of Union Home Minister Amit Shah, who's holding a mega rally in Ahmedabad along with the Gujarat Chief Minister. Those are the first visuals that we have there on your screens. Now remember, of course, Gujarat will be going into elections, in fact, in 2 phases. The first one on December 1st and the second phase on December 5th, with the results, of course, being December 8th. And this is, of course, the huge campaign that we're seeing, where Union Home Minister Amit Shah is currently now, what we're learning, is in Ahmedabad with the Chief Minister of Gujarat as well. So those are the visuals of the mega rally. Well, we also have Nupur joining us from the Mumbai newsrooms. Nupur, over to you to give our viewers the latest news at this hour.
All right, thank you very much for that, Nivedana. So pictures on your screen are right now coming to you from Gujarat. This is a huge rally that's being held in Ahmedabad. Do remember that the Home Minister Amit Shah, of course, is in Gujarat. He's going to be accompanying the Chief Minister as he files his nomination. So this is a rally that is drawn quite a few people, people peeking out of their balconies to try and see what's happening. do remember that this is an important rally because this is right ahead of the Chief Minister filing his nomination for the Gujarat elections. We're going to try and go across on the ground to Priyanka in just a bit. Right, we do have her right now. So, Priyanka, we can see pictures of Amit Shah, of course, accompanying Bhupendra Patel as he files his nomination. There are quite a few large number of people who have now joined this. Priyanka, can you hear me? All right, that's a very poor audio connection that we have with Priyanka. We're going to try and fix that and go back to her in just a bit. But the sheer numbers who are attending this rally seem to suggest that a large number of people have turned out to attend the event. To remember that this is the Home Minister Amit Shah, of course, accompanying the Chief Minister of Gujarat as he goes to file his nominations. We have, of course, seen the number of visits that the Prime Minister and the Home Minister have both made to their home state of Gujarat. Gujarat, of course, goes to polls in 2 phases and the results come out on the 8th of December. So pictures on your screen are of one of the key candidates of the BJP who files his nomination papers today. It is a show of strength by any means by the BJP. This, of course, is been a concerted effort that we have seen in coming from the side of the BJP. And the Prime Minister also, of course, announcing a large number of development and infrastructure projects for Gujarat. He's made so many visits as well. Right now, of course, the Home Minister Amit Shah accompanying Bhupendra Patel as he makes his way to file his nomination papers. Priyanka is back with us. I think she's now joining us live. Priyanka, give us more details in terms of what we are expecting. Of course, we are given to understand that this is being seen largely as an unexpected move, with the Chief Minister being accompanied by the Home Minister as he files his nominations. All right, I don't think we've got Priyanka. I'm going to try and go across to Aishwarya Kapoor, our political editor. Aishwarya, explain to us the significance of the pictures that we are seeing. Of course, the Home Minister accompanying Bhupendra Patel as he files his nomination papers today.
Well, absolutely. This is very important and significant because at this point of time, BJP seems to be very, very confident to a point that they feel that they are going to have a record high number this time around, even more than 2002 when they touched 126. If sources are to be believed, BJP feels that they will touch a number in an assembly of 182 around 150. That in itself suggests that the kind of confidence BJP entertains. And you see, the Prime Minister has not been in Gujarat 20 days prior, and the complete responsibility has been put on Home Minister Amit Shah, who's right now accompanying Bhupendra Patel, who's the Chief Ministerial candidate and the present Chief Minister of Gujarat, for his nomination. So that's the sense which you gather from the BJP, that BJP is very confident this time around, and they feel that they will be able to not only outdo their number, their highest number till now, which was 126 post 2002, but from last time around when they got 99 and the present strength is 112 in Gujarat Assembly, they feel they will be able to get around 145. Around 145. That's what we are being told by our sources, and the visuals on our screen are self-explanatory. Home Minister Amit Shah accompanying the Bhupendra Patel, the present Chief Minister, while he goes to file his nomination. Back to you in the studios.
Absolutely. So pictures on your screen are of the huge roadshow that we see, even as Bhupendra Patel goes to file his nomination, accompanied by the Home Minister, of course, and a large security presence also over there. We are given to understand that there's going to be a huge rally also, even as we play out these pictures. I'm going to try and go across back to Priyanka, who's on the ground and who's, I think, part of this rally as well. So Priyanka, take us through what we're expecting. This is, of course, a one-of-a-kind show of strength that we are seeing. All right, Pictures on your screen are of this roadshow that is taking place in Ahmedabad. This, of course, is the Home Minister being accompanying the Gujarat Chief Minister. Thousands of people also lining the streets to show their support for this. The BJP, of course, has really jumped into this election campaign with much gusto and fervor. The Prime Minister and the Amit Shah have made continuous visits to Gujarat. The BJP, of course, at this point in time, extremely confident of coming to power. Once again, do remember that the BJP, of course, has been in power in Gujarat for nearly 25 years. Now, going back to the big story that we are tracking right now, we are given to understand that even as the police are investigating the Shraddha murder case, a narco test could be conducted on Aaftab Poonawalla to establish the evidences and also the chain of events as it would have played out. Now, news coming in seems to suggest that the police want to conduct the narco test to be able to establish with clarity what really happened. Now, do remember that the police so far has been investigating only on the basis of a confessional statement that has come in from Aaftab Poonawalla. Yesterday, of course, we saw the police accompany the main accused to the Mehroli forest area to try and recover the remains of Shraddha Walkar's body, which he says he chopped into pieces and threw away into the forested area. Now, the police also, we are told, will be going back to his residence, rather to the residence that the couple shared in New Delhi, to be able to ascertain and to identify and get more evidence linking him to the murder. We are also told that the police is perhaps looking at questioning friends of Shraddha, who she was in touch with. Now, earlier we heard that the police had seized the laptop through which there was talk of the fact that Aaftab was controlling her social media accounts from that. So there are a lot of pieces that still need to be linked by the police. And that is the reason why a narco test will help the police be able to establish more details. Now, do remember, of course, a narco test is not admissible in court essentially. But what it does is that it helps the police be able to identify not just the chain of events, but also perhaps more witnesses in this case. And Anuj is joining us right now from New Delhi. I think he has more details on this. Anuj, so the police looking to conduct a narco test to be established clearly the chain of events, and not just that, perhaps to be able to, gather more evidences to back up what they are saying in a court of law?
Well, narco test is going to play the most important role today because till now, we do understand this is something which we call substantial evidence is what police is looking for. Because tomorrow it is going to be the date. Tomorrow it is going to be the day when Aaftab will be produced in front of the court. And if we talk about the confession, that is not enough with the police. Like to produce it in the front of the court is not going to be that much substantial evidence. Only confession is not going to work out. That is something which is being understood by the Delhi police official. Let me tell you that narco text will be giving a good lead and most important lead to the Delhi police officials. That's something what we have been told. On the other hand, this is going to be the DNA sampling test. The father will be called, what we have been told. The DNA will be matched as if we talk about the body parts which has been recovered till now. On the other hand, the blood sample which has been taken from the residence where the couple were living. On the other hand, if we talk about the DNA sample which has been taken from the refrigerator which was used. So all this is going to play a very important role, and police today is now understanding that yes, they need to have the substantial evidences, the enough proof what they need to have, and that is why they are going ahead with the investigation, the inquiry. If we talk about the later, then the recreation will be done today also. They will be taken to the forest area, what I have been told. They will be taken to the residence also, what I have been told. Because Aaftab was changing his statement again and again. That's why the police has sought the permission from the court for the narco test. This is the procedure which has to be done legally. The permission sought by the Delhi police official from the court. Now, what we have been told, the permission, what police is expecting, they are going to get it today and going to move ahead then with the narco test formality. So this, as I told you, is going to play very, very important role. On the other hand, the testimonies, on the other hand, the inquiries and the questioning with the friends of Aaftab is going to play important role, that what would have exactly the mindset, the strategy. Also, let me tell you that the police is also looking into an angle if there anyone else was also involved. If any of the person, any of the colleague, any of the friend, any of the known to was also involved in this brutal murder. Or was this alone Aaftab who has strategized this? What exactly was the mindset? On that angle also, the police is doing the investigation. So today, if we talk about the movement, then yes, it is going to happen from the Mehrauli police station, from where I am reporting at this point in time. And now, they are going to move ahead towards the forest area. From the forest area, what I have been told, they are expected, the police is expected to take him to the residence also where the duo was living. So they are collecting the evidence as going through the evidences, through the body parts which has been recovered. It is all going to be a very, very important day today. And if we talk about the investigation, then also let me tell you that the top rosters of the Delhi police, if we talk about the topmost officials of the Delhi police, they are closely monitoring the situation. Last evening, this was an important meeting which held in the national capital itself. This was none other but Joint CP himself who did that meeting. Later today, in the morning, there was a meeting, and back-to-back meetings of the Delhi police officials is also going on to understand and to
make it clear where the investigation should be. So this is all the part of the investigation, and we do understand that yes, the Delhi police is understanding that today it is going to be the last day to collect all the evidences, to get the substantial evidences, and that's why these leads have been generated. That's why now the police is going to go ahead with this part of the investigation. Yes, back to you.
All right, so the police, of course, are trying to be able to establish a watertight case. Now, what I wanted to understand, Anuj, from you is that there was talk of the fact that perhaps they were going to question other people. You know, there's been talk about the fact that they visited certain places right before they moved to Delhi. All of that also perhaps under the ambit of the investigation?
Well, exactly. This is all the part of the investigation, as you pointed it out very rightly, that the other people is also going to be questioned. Whosoever was linked or was in connection with Aaftab is going to be questioned. Whosoever was in connection with Shraddha also, they are also going to be questioned, that what exactly was the complaint to the known to the loved ones she was complaining, if any with any of the friends she was communicating the same. That is also going to be the part of the investigation. That's something what we have put in. That 4 friends of Aaftab, what I have been told, is also going to be called, and the police is going to question them, is going to investigate the matter further by questioning them and understanding that what exactly would have been the mindset, what exactly were the locality, society in which he was living, what was the behavior, was any hint was given by him to any of the friend, any of the close one, that he is going to move ahead with such kind of cruelty and the brutal murder which has been witnessed. So that is all going to be the part of the investigation. More people are going to be questioned, and most importantly, we need to understand now that the teams have been divided. The Delhi police working from every angle now, whether being it in the ground, whether being it in the forest area where the body was dumped, whether being it at the residence, whether being it about the locality where this particular residence is, whether being it in the Chhatarpur area, and more importantly, whether being it in the Himachal Pradesh also, where a holiday was planned. That all is going to be the part of the investigation, and police at this point in time is working down on the ground to collect the evidences, to get the substantial evidences, because tomorrow it is going to be the day when it is going to be produced in front of the court. So police today is understanding and is very clear with the agenda, what all they do need to have. And if we talk about the evidences, testimony, on the other hand, let me also remind you, the laptop data. The laptop data, what I have been told, is also going to be recovered today. So all this is the part of the investigation. Who all were there in the communication, if anyone was there, was anyone else who was also involved in this particular crime, what was the mindset, how did he make that particular strategy, the way he has done this brutality. The police, the sources in the police have told us that he used to cut the body in the pieces and put it under the shower, open the shower for some time so that a blood stain can be removed, then cutting the pieces. So all this is something which has been looked up by the police and is part of the strategy to get it more substantial to put in front of the court tomorrow. Yes, back to you.
Absolutely, Anuj. Now, you know what it appears at this point in time is that a lot of the evidence is going to either be based on forensics or it's going to be based on digital evidence in a sense. Now, also tell us about, what about, you know, the cleaver that was being talked about and the mobile phone. Now, the police have still not been able to ascertain as to where he disposed of these two.
Well, yes, that is also something which has been looked up by the Delhi police, that where he dumped the mobile and narco tax. If we talk about the narco, then for this only the police has requested the court to give them the permission to go ahead with the narco test also, because he has dumped the phone somewhere. Till now the phone has been not recovered. On the other hand, the chemical which was used, how it was used, what exactly has been done in that case also, that is also being looked up by the Delhi police personnel. So because this Aaftab was again and again changing the statement and is not coming out with a concrete statement that what exactly has done. Although the confession has been done, that is something what we have been told, that is something what we are confirmed of, that the confession has been already done, but then too, confession is not going to work in the court. That is being understood by the police, and police very smartly understand that what exactly they need when they are going to produce him in front of the court. So this is going to be very, very important if we talk about the mobile phone. So this is expected, if we talk about that particular data, which is expected that police is going to recover today, what I have been told, then from there some lead may be generated, and that's why the four friends has been also called. They are also going to be questioned. That if we talk about the phone which has been not recovered yet, all this is going to be the part of the investigation. And yes, the movement is going to start any moment from now. I am reporting from the Mehrauli police station. From here, he will be taken to the different places. As we do understand, narco is also likely to happen today.
Yes.
So this is to wait and watch and see whether it is going to happen inside the premises or whether he is going to be taken somewhere else for that also.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Anuj, of course, is reporting from outside the Mehrauli police station. The Mehrauli police is conducting the investigation in this particular case. Thank you for the moment, Anuj, for joining us. You are watching Republic TV, and still to come, Donald Trump makes it official. He will run against Joe Biden or whoever the candidate will be from the Democratic side in the 2024 US presidential elections. Cash for ticket scandal hits the Aam Aadmi Party ahead of the MCD elections. The Aam Aadmi Party's MLA family members and associates are arrested.
श्रद्धा को क्यों मारा? आफ्ताब श्रद्धा को क्यों मारा? आफ्ताब बता, देखो आफ्ताब दिख रहा है, देखो मुंह छिपा रहा है अपना, कुछ भी बोल नहीं रहा है, मुंह छिपा रहा है, अभी से पछतावा हो रहा है आफ्ताब को, लेकिन कुछ बोलने से बच रहा है।
Will the opposition change the game?
भाजपा का जाने का टाइम आ गया है। अब गुजरात के अंदर नई राजनीति होगी। 27 साल से जो ये लोग लूट रहे थे, अब इसको बंद करने का टाइम आ गया।
Will the BJP buck the trend?
ગુજરાતને નફરત ફેલાવનારા લોકો એમને ગુજરાત ક્યારેય સ્વીકાર કરતું. જેમણે ગુજરાતને બદનામ કરવાની કોશિશ કરી છે, આ ગુજરાતની જનતા એમને વાળી ચોળીને સાફ કરી નાખ્યા છે.
December 8th with Arnab.
Prime Minister right now is meeting with the diaspora. He's been given a traditional welcome.
Bail has been granted to actor Jacqueline Fernandez in the 200 crore scam.
Tamil Nadu, where the state police is conducting searches in the residence of a few people on the suspicion that they have links with the ISIS.
यहीं पर आफ्ताब पूनावाला आता था और रात के 2 बजे लगातार वो 20 दिनों तक यही करता था। अलग अलग जगहों पर उन कंकालों को फेंकता था, उन टुकड़ों को फेंकता था। यहीं से 50 मीटर की दूरी पर आफ्ताब मौजूद है इन्वेस्टिगेटिव ऑफिसर के साथ और वो बता रहा है कि कहां पर उसने उन टुकड़ों को दफनाया है, कहां पर फेंका है।
The airport. We have a bit of a shortage of time, but let me just introduce people who have come here to give you a sense of what the conversations have been and the other elements of this important visit. Of course, Foreign Secretary Sir Shivinay Quatra is with us. We also have the pleasure of having our ambassador to India and Timor-Leste, Shri Manoj Kumar Bharti, as well as our Sous Sherpa for the G20 process, Shri Abhay Thakur. Sir, Foreign Secretary Sir, if I could request you to say opening remarks and then we will take a few questions.
Thank you, Arindam. Ambassador Manoj Bharti, our Sous Sherpa, Mr. Abhay Thakur, and dear friends, thank you very much for coming here this afternoon in this beautiful city where it's pouring outside. So thanks very much for coming in these large numbers despite the heavy rain outside. As Arindam mentioned, Prime Minister's visit to Bali to participate in the ongoing G20 summit is still continuing. It's my pleasure to do this special briefing. I'll be making brief remarks and thereafter, depending on the time, take some questions. Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, as you all know, arrived on 14th November, late evening, and since then he has had a series of engagements. Even as we meet here, as Arindam just mentioned, the third session of the G20 Leaders Summit is underway, and following
Prime Minister right now is meeting with the diaspora. He's been given a traditional welcome.
Bail has been granted to actor Jacqueline Fernandez in the 200 crore scam.
Tamil Nadu, where the state police is conducting searches in the residence of a few people on the suspicion that they have links with the ISIS.
यहीं पर आफ्ताब पूनावाला आता था और रात के 2 बजे लगातार वो 20 दिनों तक यही करता था। अलग अलग जगहों पर उन कंकालों को फेंकता था, उन टुकड़ों को फेंकता था। यहीं से 50 मीटर की दूरी पर आफ्ताब मौजूद है इन्वेस्टिगेटिव ऑफिसर के साथ और वो बता रहा है कि कहां पर उसने उन टुकड़ों को दफनाया है, कहां पर फेंका है।
Security forces have busted a major plot of the terror groups to carry out a major terror strike within the Jammu city, and 2 IDs have been busted by the Jammu police.
IT department is conducting search in Greater Kailash 2, which is in the national capital. Now, ₹1 crore cash has been seized. First pictures of Aaftab inside the prison in connection with the horrific murder that took place in the national capital.
श्रद्धा को क्यों मारा? आफ्ताब श्रद्धा को क्यों मारा? आफ्ताब बता, देखो आफ्ताब दिख रहा है, देखो मुंह छिपा रहा है अपना, कुछ भी बोल नहीं रहा है, मुंह छिपा रहा है। अभी से पछतावा हो रहा है आफ्ताब को, लेकिन कुछ बोलने से बच रहा है।
Will you
Prime Minister met the US President Biden and Indonesian President on the margins of the G20 summit yesterday. Prime Minister Modi affirmed that G20 is the premier forum for international economic cooperation and underlined the importance of G20 continuing to demonstrate its capacity to bring together major economies to overcome the global challenges. In his brief bilateral interaction with President Biden, Prime Minister reviewed the continuing deepening of the India-US strategic partnership and expressed satisfaction about the ongoing strong cooperation between the two countries in groupings such as the Quad, ITU2, etc. Prime Minister Modi and President Biden agreed to maintain close cooperation during India's G20 presidency. Prime Minister also had several pull-aside meetings with leaders of the G20 members, guest countries and international organizations yesterday. Yesterday afternoon, Prime Minister also addressed and interacted with the Indian community and Friends of India in Bali. He highlighted the close cultural and civilization linkages between India and Indonesia and the role of diaspora in deepening these vibrant and ancient ties. The warmth and respect that the 700-odd Indians and Friends of India in Bali was visible for all of us to see there. Today, as Arindam just said, Prime Minister has concluded his intervention during the session on digital transformation. This is an area where India is a global leader, and Prime Minister used this opportunity to highlight actions taken by India and offered to share our expertise in this space. Prime Minister Modi highlighted the importance of technology and an open, inclusive and empowering public digital infrastructure in fostering global economic transformation, building inclusive societies, empowering.
Well, we step into a very short break here. On the other side, we bring you more news, including getting you what the Aam Aadmi Party is saying.
Security forces have busted a major plot of the terror groups to carry out a major terror strike within the Jammu city, and 2 IDs have been busted by the Jammu police.
IT department is conducting search in Greater Kailash 2, which is in the national capital. Now, rupees 1 crore cash has been seized. First pictures of Aaftab inside the prison in connection with the horrific murder that took place in the national capital.
आफ्ताब श्रद्धा को क्यों मारा? आफ्ताब श्रद्धा को क्यों मारा? आफ्ताब बता, देखो आफ्ताब दिख रहा है, देखो मुंह छिपा रहा है अपना, कुछ भी बोल नहीं रहा है, मुंह छिपा रहा है, अभी से पछतावा हो रहा है आफ्ताब को, लेकिन कुछ बोलने से बच रहा है।
Will the opposition change the game?
भाजपा का जाने का टाइम आ गया है। अब गुजरात के अंदर नई राजनीति होगी। 27 साल से जो ये लोग लूट रहे थे, अब इसको बंद करने का टाइम आ गया।
Will the BJP buck the trend?
ગુજરાતને નફરત ફેલાવનારા લોકો એમને ગુજરાત ક્યારેય સ્વીકાર કરતું જેમણે ગુજરાતને બદનામ કરવાની કોશિશ કરી છે, આ ગુજરાતની જનતા એમને વાળી ચોળીને સાફ કરી નાખ્યા છે.
December 8th with Arnab.
Prime Minister right now is meeting with the diaspora. He's been given a traditional welcome.
Bail has been granted to actor Jacqueline Fernandez in the 200 crore scam.
Tamil Nadu, where the state police is conducting searches in the residence of a few people on the suspicion that they have links with the ISIS.
यहीं पर आफ्ताब पूना वाला आता था और रात के 2 बजे लगातार वो 20 दिनों तक यही करता था। अलग अलग जगहों पर उन कंकालों को फेंकता था, उन टुकड़ों को फेंकता था। यहीं से 50 मीटर की दूरी पर आफ्ताब मौजूद है इन्वेस्टिगेटिव ऑफिसर के साथ, और वो बता रहा है कि कहां पर उसने उन टुकड़ों को दफनाया है, कहां पर फेंका है।
Security forces have busted a major plot of the terror groups to carry out a major terror strike within the Jammu city, and 2 IDs have been busted by the Jammu police.
IT department is conducting search in Greater Kailash 2, which is in the national capital. Now, rupees 1 crore cash has been seized. First pictures of Aaftab in
Good afternoon and welcome. You're watching live and breaking on Republic TV. I'm Nupur Talwar Suri. We begin with a look at the headlines. India takes the lead at the G20. Back-to-back engagements and bilaterals at the G20 for Prime Minister Modi. The picture that speaks 1,000 words about India's stature as world leaders salute India's leadership. Missile strike Poland, killing 2 US suspects. It could have been from Ukraine and not Russia. Donald Trump makes it official. He announces his bid for the presidential polls of 2024. Killer Aaftab is to be put through a narco test to establish the chain of events and the missing evidence. The cash for ticket scandal hits the Aam Aadmi Party ahead of the MCD polls. The AAP's MLAs, family members and associates are arrested. Well, the big story that we continue to track, of course, is the latest that's coming in from the G20 summit. We are given to understand right now even as, of course, India takes over as the presidency of the G20. The Prime Minister has had a large number of bilaterals today. One that has been talked about, of course, is the one with Emmanuel Macron that took place a short while ago. We are given to understand that bilateral trade as well as defense was discussed between the Prime Minister and Emmanuel Macron. At that particular meeting, of course, today India will take over the presidency of G20. We are given to understand that the Prime Minister will be listing down the priorities for India as it sets the agenda for its presidency. Now, apart from that, of course, the G20 leaders have been meeting. They've been holding a host of bilateral meetings. Pictures on your screen are of one such meeting. One of the things that has been discussed and has caused quite a bit of an alarm today was, of course, those 2 missile strikes that were spoken about. Those came into Poland and killed 2 people. But right now, the pictures on your screen right now are, of course, of the bilateral meeting that took place between Prime Minister Modi and Emmanuel Macron of France. Now, there is a lot that we are told that was discussed between the 2 leaders. What we are given to understand is that one of them was bilateral trade between the 2 sides. To remember that France, of course, continues to remain a very solid partner for India as far as Europe is concerned, as far as trade with Europe is concerned. All right. Now, even as the G20, of course, continues with its meetings, there has been a high alert that's been sounded, we understand, in Poland. This, of course, comes after the fact that there were 2 missiles that struck Poland and left 2 people dead. Now, the US, in its latest statement, of course, has said that they believe these missiles may have come from Ukraine and not from Russia, as was earlier thought. Joining us right now from Warsaw is Ameya Porekar. Thank you very much for speaking to us, Ameya. Can you detail for us what's happening in Poland even as we speak? Obviously, there must be a considerable amount of shock that these 2 missiles struck Poland and killed 2 people. So give us a sense of what's happening over there. How is Warsaw reacting?
Yes, so the missiles that were launched yesterday, that were fired on the village on the eastern border with Ukraine, there is right now, it's relatively calm in Poland, but it's, of course, it's because the Polish leader, Mateusz Morawiecki, has said that it is a serious situation, but he has urged everyone to remain calm because this could escalate into something which no one wants to see. So the missiles that were launched yesterday, the latest is that they were Russian-made, but we don't know. The reports are inconclusive as to who fired the missiles. But we know for sure that they were Russian made. Could be from the Ukrainian side or the Russian side. The evidence right now is inconclusive. So Poland is right now investigating the evidence.
Now, Amir, two types of statements come out from the G20. At the beginning, we saw, a scramble of world leaders. There was a meeting that was hurriedly called on the sidelines, NATO meeting that was called. We are told the G7 also met. But thereafter, what we've heard is a sense of calm that's now coming in. We were told by the US president a short while ago that they believe that this is a missile that perhaps was fired from Ukraine side. It was fired actually at two Russian missiles, but fell in Poland. So is that likely to calm down the situation in Poland?
Absolutely, because right now the one thing that no one wants, whether in Poland or in Europe or anywhere in the world, is this to escalate. So the reports right now coming in are, as I said, they're inconclusive. So it will not help anyone to jump to conclusions as to who has fired those missiles. It could be from Ukraine, as you just explained, or it could be from Russia. But right now, we just have to wait and watch as to what the reports say, what the evidence suggests.
Now, what we know for now, and a fact that has been confirmed, seems to be that these were of Russian make. What are you hearing back home over there? Is that what you can confirm for us?
Yes, I can confirm that. The reports are that they're definitely Russian made, but who fired them is not, we don't know that. But they are Russian made for sure. This is confirmed.
Now, also explain to us what happens if the NATO were to step in. There is, of course, talk of Article 4, which essentially means that NATO will have to defend Poland because Poland is a NATO ally. So explain to us the process that is in place in case it were confirmed, perhaps that, or even suspected that this was fired from Russia's side.
Well, the Article 4 suggests that any issue that comes to security will be up for discussion by the NATO countries. So the Article 4 automatically has been triggered. There will be discussions, and if it's confirmed it was fired from the Russian side, it will have serious consequences. Moscow will be called in. But the general feeling is that NATO countries will actively try to de-escalate the situation until there's something conclusive comes out from the investigation.
But what it essentially drove to everybody was the point that a war like this one can turn in minutes. Something like this, which may have been an accident, could actually scale up this war. So is that something that you found was being talked about in Warsaw a lot?
Yes, it was. I mean, this was the concerns in Warsaw they started back in February, but now it's all heated up and it's become worse. But as the Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki of Poland, he has asked everyone to remain calm. He's urged everyone to remain calm. It's precisely for this reason, because no one wants this to escalate.
Oh, yes, nobody wants this to escalate, and coming at this as it does at, the middle of the G20 meeting, it does, in a sense, drive home the point that this war could be beyond anybody's control if mistakes like this one were to be made. But give us a sense of, what's being talked about in Warsaw. Is there a considerable amount of fear among the people that it could turn very, very quickly before even countries have, had the time to react to this?
There is fear, but it's still the Polish people are still hopeful that this won't get any worse than what it is right now. They are very confident that Poland will be able to de-escalate this. The government will be able to de-escalate this. The army right now is on high alert. The military is on high alert. But there is a general sense that this will not spill out even more. There is a general sense of calm right now.
Right now, you said that the army and the military are on high alert. What does that essentially mean? Explain to us.
What that means is that the army, the military is combat ready. So they can spur into action any second. They are on high alert. They are going to be deployed and they'll be ready for action. if this escalates further.
All right, and what does that mean in terms of the NATO then? How does that work?
Well, NATO in general, they would also right now they've not said if they are on high alert, but they will come to Poland's aid if Poland decides to launch their own military action.
Now, also give us a general sense of how many NATO forces are in that region, because that will essentially tell us about how this could go forward. At the moment, of course, everybody is hoping, and so are we, that this is going to scale down.
Yes, there is considerable presence of NATO inside the country, as well as American troops inside the country. Right now, there are around 5,000 American troops in the country, sizable number of NATO forces as well. Even as we speak, though, ground action by NATO is not on the table as of now. So, but they are ready. They are combat ready. Even if something happens, if there was any combat, the Polish forces would be the first to spur into action, then followed by NATO. But it remains to be seen. It all depends upon the investigation the evidence that they come up with.
Right, Ameya, at the start of this war between Russia and Ukraine, there was a lot of saber rattling, and we were reporting live from Poland, and we spoke to a large number of people there, and they seem to suggest that they're extremely worried, they're extremely scared of how, it could affect their daily lives. Now, is that sense of fear perhaps now coming back? You would have interacted with a lot of people around you. Is that now coming back?
It is coming back. It is coming back, especially on the eastern side of Poland, which is close to the border with Ukraine. There's a lot more anxiety over there. But in Warsaw right now, people, even though there is a doubt that this could escalate and come close to Warsaw, because Warsaw, bear in mind, is still 400 kilometers from the border. So in Warsaw, there is concern, but there is a sense of calm at the moment, but it just feels like it could be a lull before the storm. So we have to be cautious. There is a fair bit of anxiety.
All right, Ameya, thank you very much for speaking to us on Republic TV.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So as he's pointing out, of course, there is fear, but there's also hope that this will de-escalate very, very quickly. Do remember that there's a statement that's come out from the US that they suspect perhaps that this could be a Ukrainian missile. But what we know right now and what is confirmed at the moment is that this was a Russian-made missile. So the make of the missile is clear. What we also know is that it struck a border town and it killed 2 people. All right, we are now going to breaking news that we are getting. We are getting a breaking news report from Karnataka, where a BJP leader has allegedly been hacked to death in Kalburgi district. More details, of course, are still awaited. What we know so far is that this BJP leader was hacked to death in Kalburgi. He is Mallikarjun Muthia's death has been confirmed. Initial reports seem to suggest that his private parts were cut off. He was murdered even as he was working at his shop. So pictures on your screen are of what really happened. And Prajwal joins us live for more on this. Prajwal, explain to us what happened. What are the police saying?
Gory incident which has been reported from Sedam town from Kalburgi district, and now more and more details coming in. It is now being stated that Mallikarjun Mutyal was hacked to death last night, and his private parts were chopped off, and later he was also choked to death, is what the preliminary investigations of the cops are going on and stating. Now the cops are also suspecting 3 to 4 angles here, because of late there had been many incidents of thefts and burglary which had been reported from the district, and Mallikarjun Mutyal is also the owner of an electric shop, and daily he used to sleep in this particular shop, and this might be a case of burglary is what was being suspected. But surprisingly, there has been no sort of goods or electronic equipment which has been taken in. Now the local BJP MLA over there, Raju Patil Telkur, is going on and stating, he's suggesting that there might be a foul play and he has been murdered for some other reasons, is what he's stating, but the reasons are exactly exactly not being known. And also it is being understood that Mallikarjun Mutyal had married two women, and there was already a property dispute going on between his first wife and second wife, and the children of both these wives used to always clash with each other in regard to property as well. So he might have also been murdered due to a property dispute, and therefore now it is being understood that the cops have called in all the family members of Mallikarjun Mutyal as well. But you can see that there are over 100 to 200 people who have already gathered there, and also the police have been deployed in large numbers to make sure that the situation doesn't go out of hand, and there is not another turn which is given to this entire incident. The MLA is strongly demanding that the BJP workers now and again have been targeted in this particular district, in Kalburgi district, especially in his constituency, and there seems to be absolutely no sort of protection that is being given to them, because he is one of the most prominent leaders, Mallikarjun Mutyal, in this constituency, and he was also quite instrumental in getting Raju Patil to win in this particular constituency as well. So there has been a lot of anguish, and also there is cries of foul play which is being listed out. But now the cops have gone on to register a complaint in this particular regard and are investigating into the incident.
Now, Prajwal, what we are learning right now is, and it may be very preliminary at this stage, that this has been looked upon as a political murder. But as you pointed out, there could perhaps be other angles to this.
Absolutely. So these are the angles which are being investigated by the cops now, because what is very, this has happened on the backdrop of the upcoming 2023 elections. And if you note that the BJP and the Congress workers in Kalburgi districts are at loggerheads too, because recently there was a missing campaign of Priyank Kharge which was launched in Chittapur Assembly constituency, which comes under Kalburgi district. And later, just a few days after which, Priyank Kharge goes on and states that he will not let any BJP leader set foot in his constituency. And then later, a local BJP leader, Manikant Rathod, also had issued a threat to Priyank Kharge, stating that we are ready to die, but we are also ready to shoot. And in this regard, the police had also gone on to arrest Manikant Rathod as well. So the BJP cadres now are mentioning foul play over here, and this might be a political murder is what they are claiming, but we need to await for
Prajwal, I'm afraid I'll have to interrupt you there, but I'll come back to you in just a bit. I think we've got Mr. Patil on the phone line with us from the BJP. Mr. Patil, preliminary reports seem to suggest that there is considerable tension in Kalburgi over the murder of this leader. Give us a sense of what's happening, and there is also talk of this being essentially a political murder.
अभी उसके ऊपर जांच चल रहा है, तो अभी कुछ उसके ऊपर बोलना उतना अच्छा नहीं रहेगा। पुलिस पूरे इसके ऊपर जांच की टीम बिठाए हैं, और जो भी इसके लिए कारणीभूत है उसको तुरंत पकड़ के कार्रवाई करके उसको अंदर डालना जरूरी है। तो उसके जांच में अभी पुलिस वाले पड़े हैं, टीम भी बनाया है, तो ये एक दो दिन के अंदर मालूम पड़ेगा ये पॉलिटिकल रिवाइवल है या पर्सनल है, ये पता नहीं है अभी। वो पता चलने के बाद कुछ बोल सकता है इसके ऊपर। जो भी हुआ है अच्छा नहीं हुआ है, ऐसे किसी आदमी किसी लोगों के साथ नहीं होना चाहिए, मैं ये इतना ही बोल सकता हूँ। ये इससे बहुत हमारे को तो बहुत चोट लगी है, ऐसा अच्छा कार्यकर्ता था उन्होंने, तो उसके ऊपर जांच चल रहा है, तो जांच के बाद जो भी हुआ है तो वो सामने आ जाएगा, देखेंगे क्या हो सकता है।
जी बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया हमसे बात करने के लिए। So that was Raju Patil, the MLA, who says that the police is already investigating and also asking people to remain calm till we are given to understand that what has happened. I'm going to go back to Prajwal. Now, Prajwal, what are the police saying and how is the security situation in that area?
The security situation is a bit tense there because of the large number of people who have already gathered in, irrespective of communities. Let me tell you that there are many people, more and more number of people who have already come in there, and also KSRP platoons have also been deployed, and the cops are taking stock of the entire situation. So far, there has been only chants of demand for justice for Mallikarjun Mutyala, saying that the culprits, the offenders, will have to be found immediately, otherwise they will go on and stage a dharna now. We are also getting to understand that the SP is also learning about this entire incident, and also all the top cops of the district are also present at Sedam town, even as we are speaking.
इनिशिएटिव को आगे बढ़ाने का भरसक प्रयत्न करेगा। भारत के लिए यह अत्यंत शुभ संयोग है कि हम G20 की अध्यक्षता का दायित्व इस पवित्र द्वीप बाली में ग्रहण कर रहे हैं। भारत और बाली का बहुत ही प्राचीन रिश्ता है। एक्सेलेंसीज, भारत G20 का जिम्मा ऐसे समय ले रहा है जब विश्व जियोपॉलिटिकल तनावों, आर्थिक मंदी, खाद्यान्न और ऊर्जा की बड़ी G20 का जिम्मा ऐसे समय ले रहा है जब विश्व जियोपॉलिटिकल तनावों, आर्थिक मंदी, खाद्यान्न और ऊर्जा की बढ़ी हुई कीमतों और महामारी के दीर्घकालीन दुष्प्रभावों से एक साथ जूझ रहा है। ऐसे समय विश्व G20 की तरफ आशा की नजर से देखता है। आज मैं ये आश्वासन देना चाहता हूं कि भारत की G20 अध्यक्षता इंक्लूसिव, एम्बिशियस, डिसिसिव और एक्शन ओरिएंटेड होगी। एक्सेलेंसी, अगले एक साल में हमारा प्रयत्न रहेगा कि G20 नए विचारों की परिकल्पना के लिए और सामूहिक एक्शन को गति देने के लिए एक ग्लोबल प्राइम मूवर की तरह काम करे। प्राकृतिक संसाधनों पर ओनरशिप का भाव आज संघर्ष को जन्म दे रहा है और पर्यावरण की दुर्दशा का मुख्य कारण बना है। प्लेनेट के सुरक्षित भविष्य के लिए ट्रस्टीशिप का भाव ही समाधान है। इसमें लाइफ यानी लाइफस्टाइल फॉर एनवायरनमेंट अभियान एक बड़ा योगदान दे सकता है। इसका उद्देश्य सस्टेनेबल लाइफस्टाइल को एक जन आंदोलन बनाना है। एक्सेलेंसी, आज आवश्यकता है कि विकास के लाभ सर्वस्पर्शी और सर्वसमावेशी हो। हमें विकास के लाभों को ममभाव और समभाव से मानव मात्र तक पहुंचाना होगा। वैश्विक विकास महिलाओं की भागीदारी के बिना संभव नहीं है। हमें अपने G20 एजेंडा में वुमेन लेड डेवलपमेंट पर प्राथमिकता बनाए रखनी होगी। बिना शांति और सुरक्षा हमारी आने वाली पीढ़ियां आर्थिक वृद्धि या टेक्नोलॉजिकल इनोवेशन का लाभ नहीं ले पाएगी। G20 को शांति और सौहार्द के पक्ष में एक दृढ़ संदेश देना होगा। यह सभी प्राथमिकताएं भारत की G20 अध्यक्षता की थीम वन अर्थ, वन फैमिली, वन फ्यूचर में पूर्ण रूप से समाहित है। एक्सेलेंसी, G20 की अध्यक्षता ग्रहण करना हर भारतीय के लिए गर्व का अवसर है। हम अपने देश के विभिन्न शहरों और राज्यों में G20 की बैठकें आयोजित करेंगे। हमारे अतिथियों को भारत की अद्भुतता, विविधता, समावेशी परंपराओं और सांस्कृतिक समृद्धि का पूरा अनुभव मिलेगा। हमारी कामना है कि आप सभी मदर ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी भारत में इस अद्वितीय उत्सव में सहभागी होंगे। साथ मिलकर हम G20 समूह को वैश्विक बदलाव का कैटलिस्ट बनाएंगे। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
Minister talking about India's priorities as India takes over the presidency of the G20, also outlining our agenda. The Prime Minister spoke of a host of issues. He also did mention food security and energy security, which of course continue to remain very high on the global agenda, particularly of the G20. He also mentioned the fact that the world is passing through a very challenging phase, essentially talking about and alluding perhaps to the war in Ukraine, even as the developments today have rattled the world, even as we speak, even though we are given to understand that leaders are now trying to temper down the situation. But the Prime Minister talking about India's presidency, I do remember that India takes over the presidency today, and we are going to be hosting all those meetings over the next 1 year at various locations across the country. Abhishek Kapoor, our senior executive editor, continues to join us. Now, Abhishek, the Prime Minister, of course, talking about key issues that we would want the G20 to focus on. So give us a sense overall of how G20 presidency of India is looking like.
Nupur, India's presidency of G20 time globally within the country as well. Within the country because we are marking 75 years of India's independence. So it's an important benchmark as a nation, as a society, as a civilization. And globally because of the kind of crisis the world is passing through post the COVID pandemic, the fragile economic recovery made difficult by the Europe war and the disruptions in the global supply chains, the energy crisis, the veritable food insecurity that's spanning out, the crisis in terms of world food supplies, and it's going to worsen given the inflation situation that's prevailing across the economies and across the regions. So I think India to be taking up the presidency, we have to be that much extra responsible and provide solutions. So I think the Prime Minister there mentioning that being the mother of democracies and a civilization, and the fact that in, for example, digital transformation on which this session was, India has made remarkable achievements over the last few years to a level where even the West, which is technologically much more advanced, looks at our models in terms of using digital platforms for government delivery, for example, and overall societal uplift. So we will contribute in those on those issues when over the next 1 year, over 200 meetings take place in about 55 cities across India, and of course the main summit in November next year in New Delhi. It's going to be a very important, fascinating time for Indian diplomacy, Indian diplomats, Indian society and the nation to be showcasing our
भारत और बाली का बहुत ही प्राचीन रिश्ता है। एक्सेलेंसीज, भारत G20 का जिम्मा ऐसे समय ले रहा है जब विश्व जियोपॉलिटिकल तनावों, आर्थिक मंदी, खाद्यान्न और ऊर्जा की बढ़ी हुई कीमतों और महामारी के दीर्घकालीन दुष्प्रभावों से एक साथ जूझ रहा है। ऐसे समय विश्व G20 की तरफ आशा की नजर से देखता है। आज मैं ये आश्वासन देना चाहता हूं कि भारत की G20 अध्यक्षता इंक्लूसिव, एम्बिशियस, डिसिसिव और एक्शन ओरिएंटेड होगी। एक्सेलेंसी, अगले 1 साल में हमारा प्रयत्न रहेगा कि G20 नए विचारों की परिकल्पना के लिए और सामूहिक एक्शन को गति देने के लिए एक ग्लोबल प्राइम मूवर की तरह काम करे। प्राकृतिक संसाधनों पर ओनरशिप का भाव आज संघर्ष को जन्म दे रहा है और पर्यावरण की दुर्दशा का मुख्य कारण बना है। प्लेनेट के सुरक्षित भविष्य के लिए ट्रस्टीशिप का भाव ही समाधान है। इसमें लाइफ यानी लाइफस्टाइल फॉर एनवायरमेंट अभियान एक बड़ा योगदान दे सकता है। इसका उद्देश्य सस्टेनेबल लाइफस्टाइल को एक जन आंदोलन बनाना है। एक्सेलेंसी, आज आवश्यकता है कि विकास के लाभ सर्वस्पर्शी और सर्वसमावेशी हो। हमें विकास के लाभों को ममभाव और समभाव से मानव मात्र तक पहुंचाना होगा। वैश्विक विकास
And that is Prime Minister Modi at the G20 in Bali. It's the second and final day of the summit. India takes over the presidency today and over the next 1 year till September, when a similar summit will be held here in India. We will be having to host many such meetings related to the Group of 20. Prime Minister Modi clearly stating that the G20 is an organization that is a global prime mover. He's spoken of how women should be at the forefront of developmental goals. And last week we had seen the Prime Minister unveil the logo, theme and website of India's G20 presidency. At that time, the Prime Minister had said that India's G20 presidency is coming at a time of crisis and chaos in the world, a thought that has echoed throughout this summit, which is being held under the shadow of the Ukraine war. The Prime Minister had said then that the world is going through the after effects of a disruptive, once-in-a-century pandemic, conflicts and a lot of economic uncertainty. As our viewers are aware, the lotus is features in our symbol for the G20. And the Prime Minister said while lotus, a symbol of national heritage, features in the India G20 logo, the country is also sending a message of one earth, one family, one future. And you were just listening in. We'll try and get back and listen once again to the Prime Minister as he speaks at the G20. Earlier in the day, we had seen visuals. We had brought you visuals of his bilateral with French President Emmanuel Macron. And a number of other bilaterals also scheduled today. Yesterday, it was that wonderful, warm and interactive meeting with the Indian diaspora, which is a feature of every foreign visit that the Prime Minister undertakes. And there you see him with Joko Widodo, President of Indonesia, who is the host. And now India taking over the baton is passed on to India.
होगा ट्रोइका का मतलब ये होता है कि जो आउटगोइंग प्रेसिडेंसी होती है, जो करंट प्रेसिडेंसी होती है और जो इनकमिंग प्रेसिडेंसी हो जाती है, तो ये पहली बार होगा 1 दिसंबर 2022 से कि आउटगोइंग प्रेसिडेंसी यानी कि इंडोनेशिया, करंट प्रेसिडेंसी यानी कि इंडिया और जो इनकमिंग प्रेसिडेंसी यानी कि ब्राजील, ये तीनों ही जो अर्थव्यवस्थाएं, जो इकोनॉमीज हैं, ये डेवलपिंग या फिर इमर्जिंग मार्केट कह सकते हैं। डेवलपिंग कंट्रीज का जो पार्टिसिपेशन है इन मल्टीलैटरल प्लेटफॉर्म्स के ऊपर, इनकी जो आवाज सुनी जाती है, वो आप कह सकते हैं कि काफी बैलेंस्ड और ज्यादा होगी मल्टीलैटरल प्लेटफॉर्म्स के ऊपर। साथ ही साथ इस बात को
And Abhishek Kapoor joining us on this. Abhishek, we're seeing those wonderful visuals, the baton passed on to India, and Prime Minister Narendra Modi there. You were just listening to him. Also, President Joko Widodo. A very significant moment as the Prime Minister outlined India's agenda at the G20 presidency, speaking about how it's a very challenging phase that the world is passing through. It's over to you to give us more insight, some perspective on the major takeaways of this 2-day very crucial summit that we witnessed.
Oh, Rukma, fantastic pictures there, and I could see that hint of emotion on Prime Minister's face when he took over that hammer, thus, transitioning into the presidency of G20 for the year 2023, symbolically with Joko Widodo handing over amid all the applause that's accompanying in the pictures, as we can see. It's a significant moment for the country, for the nation, and for the society that in the 75th year of independence, we are helming an organization which accounts for 85% of global trade, 75% of GDP, and 2/3 of the world population. A very decisive organization, unlike United Nations, which is clumsy, about which Prime Minister mentioned in his opening remarks yesterday when he said that not much decision-making happens in the United Nations as it exists today and needs important reforms. And pending that, G20, which is a mix of developing and developed nations of North and South, and in that scenario, with the kind of difficulties the world is facing as of now, because of the year of war, because of the post-pandemic fragile economic recovery, because of the supply chain disruptions, because of the fuel shock and food security shock, I think India it's an opportune time for India to be showcasing its solution-providing impulses and general approach towards problems which are not just local but global as well. So I think this is happening best of time, possibly the worst of time, of course. Challenges, but then as it is said, opportunities and challenges come together, and it is an opportunity for the nation to really rise together and to meet this challenge of providing global leadership on a platform which is relevant, which is significant, which can provide solutions, be it climate change, be it food security, be it energy supplies, and India's position has been well appreciated, and that can be seen in the fact that the G20 communique, which was released, mentioned Prime Minister's 5 words that were made to President Putin, that this is not an era of war. So I think a message being sent across and in these pictures, and which would be strengthened over the next 1 year as India's presidency of G20 pans out, that we are here as solution providers. We are a civilizational nation state which has answers to global problems if you listen and if you execute them. And Prime Minister underscoring one very important aspect in his closing remarks when he said that we are going to provide an action-oriented presidency for G20, which is driven by solutions. So I think significant moment there, and as I mentioned, Prime Minister, showing that hint of emotion on his face, because it's a big moment for the nation as a whole that we are taking over presidency of G20, and as a coincidence also in the 50th year of India's independence. In fact, we were supposed to take over presidency of India in 2022, but then a swap. It should be in 2023 because that's the year we will be marking our 75th year of independence. So those two moments should coincide. And now Prime Minister has taken over the President Joko Widodo of Indonesia. Over the next 1 year, India has called India's President one people, and the solutions to all the global problems would be discussed spread over the entire year. 200 meetings, big and small, spread across 55 cities across the country. It's not just Delhi-centric, New Delhi-centric, and all these leaders who will be traveling, and the global decision-making community, influencer community that would be traveling to India over the next 1 year. They would be given a slice of life of India across the country and the regions and the states, with 55 cities chosen, including in Jammu and Kashmir, for example, including in the northeast, including down south in Kerala and Tamil Nadu, where all these meetings would take place. 55 cities marked for 200 meetings, and of course the big one next year, roughly the same time, I'm forgetting the dates, the Leaders Summit that's going to be held in New Delhi, for which a special venue at Pragati Maidan is coming up or almost has come up. So Indonesia passing the baton to India, and President Joko Widodo there in the pictures amid applause, handing over the baton to Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who's visibly emotional at this moment because it's significant for him, for the nation as well.
Right. So we're getting you those visuals. Abhishek Kapoor with us. And when we talk about India's voice, Abhishek, increasingly are we seeing India's voice sounding for the cause, rising up for the cause of the global south, persuading the world and world leaders towards diplomacy, towards ceasefire, towards peace, and towards an end to sanctions?
The minister, in fact, in his own comments, Rukma, mentioned that the sanctions-based in terms of affecting energy security and hence can have a domino effect on food security. General G.D. Bakshi, in fact, joining us over the phone. Sir, a very significant moment for India with Prime Minister taking over the presidency of G20. And this is happening at a time, General Bakshi, when the world is passing through a major crisis on the economic front, on the war front, with war going on in Europe. Do you think India has the capacity to provide solutions or the world community is facing over the next 1 year when India is chair of G20?
Absolutely. India has assumed the chair of the G20 at a very critical phase in the history of mankind. Not just... Did I 8 minutes? My phone phone. 8 minutes. Hello? 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 Hello?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Yes, sir. Major General Bakshi, we can hear you.
Like I said, India is at the chairmanship of the G20 at a very critical phase in the history of mankind. As we know, the Russia-Ukraine war has entered its 9th month. It is almost causing a global economic recession, stagflation, inflation, energy inflation, food inflation, etc. Fertilizer inflation is at an all-time high. The world needs peace, and I think India is best positioned to strive for that peace, to get a ceasefire negotiated in the Russia-Ukraine war, to get peace all over the world, because the world is otherwise teetering on the brink of a third world war, a global conflict. There are tensions in the Taiwan Straits, tensions between North and South Korea, tensions in the South China Sea, tensions in Iran, Israel, Saudi Arabia, and of course tensions in Europe. Just today, there were some reports that some, strikes have been reported in Poland. Now, if that is true, the war could even spread. So, this is a time to be extremely cautious, circumspect, and careful. And I think India is in the right position to provide the leadership, because it is acceptable to both sides. It is acceptable to both sides.
Right, sir. So, General Bakshi, Major General Bakshi, when we talk about the other pull side, the other very significant pull side between China and the United States, the statements coming in were that from Joe Biden was that there is no change as far as the United States is concerned in the Taiwan stance. There's no new Cold War. But China, on its part, the Chinese government on its part has said that Taiwan is a red line that must not be crossed. In view of all that's gone on in the G20, what do you think these statements mean?
These statements mean precisely, they say, China was feeling very humiliated when Nancy Pelosi visited Taiwan, despite all its breathing hot and cold, despite all its threats and, threats to ramp up the conflict. The visit went ahead, and then it was followed by a flurry of visits by senior American officials to Taiwan. This was at a time when Xi Jinping was about to face the crucial Chinese Communist Party Congress, which has given him now a third term. With the third term secure under his belt, he seems to be feeling more confident. And there are some speculation that the Chinese had a timeline of 2025 before they would be ready for conflict. That timeline, some American sources are saying, has now been preponed. And if that has now been preponed, then it could lead to conflict in an earlier time frame. So these meetings are to see that those dangers are tamped down a bit, those threats and that negative spiral is now cooled down a bit, so that the world doesn't erupt into one conflict, second conflict, third conflict, almost as a case of sympathetic detonations as they take place on the battlefield. So we hope and pray that there will be peace, that there will be a ceasefire, in Ukraine. I'm not sure if that can happen now because both sides haven't reached that point of exhaustion when they feel they can't do more. Russia has just mobilized 3 lakh troops, reservists, and may try and use them to, reverse the situation in its favor. So we will have to wait and watch. But within a couple of months, that crucial point will come where the sides will be exhausted and will be looking for a way out and off-ramp from the conflict for Putin, for Zelensky, for the West.
Right, sir. Many thanks for speaking with Republic and sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you very much for joining us. And so, as we were telling you, it's a very big moment for India. As Abhishek, our senior executive editor, was saying, Prime Minister Modi there somewhat emotional as India is handed over the baton to as the president. Now India will be presiding over the G20. President Joko Widodo of Indonesia and Prime Minister Modi. And Prime Minister Modi in his speech, spoke about the vision that India has for the G20. It's time now for a short break here, but coming up after that, killer Aaftab to be put through a narco test, even as police investigate the many leads and try to answer the many questions that have arisen in the Aaftab Shraddha case. Also coming up, cash for ticket scandal in the national capital as Delhi heads for MCD polls.
Will the opposition change the game?
भाजपा का जाने का टाइम आ गया है। अब गुजरात के अंदर नई राजनीति होगी। 27 साल से जो ये लोग लूट रहे थे, अब इसको बंद करने का टाइम आ गया।
Will the BJP buck the trend?
ગુજરાત ને નફરત ફેલાવનારા લોકો એમને ગુજરાત ક્યારેય સ્વીકાર કરતું જેમણે ગુજરાતને બદનામ કરવાની કોશિશ કરી છે આ ગુજરાતની જનતા એમને વાળી ચોળીને સાફ કરી નાખ્યા છે.
December 8th with Arnab.
Prime Minister right now is meeting with the diaspora. He's been given a traditional welcome.
Bail has been granted to actor Jacqueline Fernandez in the 200 crore scam.
Tamil Nadu, where the state police is conducting searches in the residence of a few people on the suspicion that they have links with the ISIS.
यहीं पर आफ्ताब पूना वाला आता था और रात के 2 बजे लगातार वो 20 दिनों तक यही करता था। अलग अलग जगहों पर उन कंकालों को फेंकता था, उन टुकड़ों को फेंकता था। यहीं से 50 मीटर की दूरी पर आफ्ताब मौजूद है इन्वेस्टिगेटिव ऑफिसर के साथ और वो बता रहा है कि कहां पर उसने उन टुकड़ों को दफनाया है, कहां पर फेंका है।
Security forces have busted a major plot of the terror groups to carry out a major terror strike within the Jammu city, and 2 IDs have been busted by the Jammu police.
IT department is conducting search in Greater Kailash 2, which is in the national capital. Now, rupees 1 crore cash has been seized. First pictures of Aaftab inside the prison in connection with the horrific murder that took place in the national capital. Former US President Donald Trump enters 2024 poll fray, says will fight for America like never before.
One more case of targeted killing, this time reported from Shaura of Srinagar, where a non-local has been targeted by the terrorists.
Delhi police are to recover data from Aaftab's laptop today. Police also likely to take Aaftab to the residence where the couple were living. And India takes the lead in G20. as we've been covering and showing you through those visuals. These are visuals, the latest visuals from the G20 summit underway in Bali in Indonesia. A visibly emotional Prime Minister Modi taking over the presidency from President Joko Widodo of Indonesia. India will be assuming the presidency for a full year beginning today as the baton is passed on, even as the challenges across the globe are many in almost every sphere. Meanwhile, today is the second and final day of the G20 summit. It's the 17th G20 summit that's underway. Leaders from across the globe gathered there at Bali. And Abhishek Kapoor once again with us. Abhishek, when we talk about the takeaways of the Prime Minister's speech that the Prime Minister's address, well, it said but there's still more to come as far as this particular summit is concerned, Abhishek. Am I not wrong? Because, we are expecting the leaders' declaration to support the acceleration of the world's recovery. That's one thing. And also, are there more bilaterals to come?
Yes, Rukma. So the G20 communique is already out, and it has a substantial imprint of what Prime Minister Modi has said over the last 2 days while he has been in Bali. And of course, the bilaterals going on as we speak with Singapore, and later also lined up between Prime Minister Modi and the leaders of Germany, Italy, Indonesia, Australia and the United Kingdom, the last being with Rishi Sunak. Let's on that note go to Aarti Tikku Singh. She's in fact joining us live from Bali. Aarti, you have been there for 2 days. Just a couple of things that come to mind, and if you can throw some light on them. The G20 communique, it shows or reflects some fissures that exist between the leaders themselves, apart from the fact that Russian President Vladimir Putin decided to absent himself and sent in Sergei Lavrov, who in fact left midway, clearly suggesting the kind of stalemate that exists between the West and Russia. Apart from that, also the language itself is suggestive that when the dialogue would have taken place between the leaders, there have been a lot of differences and the difference of opinion. If you can throw some light on what scale of differences were there and what was the role the Indian side played in bringing together the leaders and the fact that a communique could actually come out.
Well, Abhishek, it is quite clear that with
Go ahead, Aarti. If you are getting me, please go ahead. I think there was some audio issue, Aarti. If I could come to you again on that, essentially, how does the G20 communique reflect India's role in bringing together the leaders and making sure that a modicum of understanding is reached on the global situation, including the war in Europe? Okay, I think we are having some network issue there, and that's the reason why we couldn't hear Aarti. She's there in Bali, and she was reporting live with us, and she joined live with us. But let's try and reconnect again if the connectivity issue can be sorted. But important 2 days for Indian diplomacy, and in fact, they are going to be important one. It's going to be important 1 year for Indian diplomacy as India takes over as president of G20. In those pictures, clearly a very emotional Prime Minister taking over the presidency from Joko Widodo of Indonesia, the President of Indonesia. And in fact, there is a bilateral also planned between the two sides. As of now, Prime Minister is closeted with Singapore's Lee Hsien Loong. And after that, he would be meeting leaders of Germany, Chancellor Olaf Scholz, and the last being with Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister, or the new Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Prime Minister already has had bilaterals with the French President Emmanuel Macron, the pictures of which beamed earlier in the day. And apart from that, he has participated in 3 sessions, one each on food security, energy security, and digital transformation that are taking place. But that's a small part of the overall mechanism that G20 really helps. The G20 communique, of course, talking about the challenges that the world community is facing. On that note, I hand it over back to Rukma. Of course, we'll come back if we can connect again with Aarti, who's there in Bali for us.
Right, Abhishek, many thanks for that increased insight into this all-crucial summit. It's the second and final day of the G20. India taking over the presidency from Indonesia, and President Joko Widodo and Prime Minister Narendra Modi there. And it's a whole year ahead of India planning and preparing and putting forward her vision. It's time now for a short break, but coming up after that, more on the latest updates in all the top stories that we are tracking across India and the world. And the question that's being asked, even as it was earlier being seen as an escalation of the Russia-Ukraine war, many questions now as there are continuous denials on all sides. Who bombed Poland is the question that's being asked.
Amity has been ranked India's #1 not-for-profit private university for 10 years, with top 10 ranked institutions in management, engineering, biotech, law, mass comm, telecom, hospitality, fashion and more. Yet another top ranking for Amity University.
यहीं पर आफ्ताब पूनावाला आता था और रात के 2 बजे लगातार वो 20 दिनों तक यही करता था। अलग अलग जगहों पर उन कंकालों को फेंकता था, उन टुकड़ों को फेंकता था। यहीं से 50 मीटर की दूरी पर आफ्ताब मौजूद है इन्वेस्टिगेटिव ऑफिसर के साथ, और वो बता रहा है कि कहां पर उसने उन टुकड़ों को दफनाया है, कहां पर फेंका है।
Security forces have busted a major plot of the terror groups to carry out a major terror strike within the Jammu city, and 2 IDs have been busted by the Jammu police.
IT department is conducting search in Greater Kailash 2, which is in the national capital. Now, rupees 1 crore cash has been seized. First pictures of Aaftab inside the prison in connection with the horrific murder that took place in the national capital.
श्रद्धा को क्यों मारा? आफ्ताब श्रद्धा को क्यों मारा? आफ्ताब बता, देखो आफ्ताब दिख रहा है, देखो मुंह छिपा रहा है अपना, कुछ भी बोल नहीं रहा है, मुंह छिपा रहा है। अभी से पछतावा हो रहा है आफ्ताब को, लेकिन कुछ बोलने से बच रहा है।
Will the opposition change the game?
भाजपा का जाने का टाइम आ गया है। अब गुजरात के अंदर नई राजनीति होगी। 27 साल से जो ये लोग लूट रहे थे, अब इसको बंद करने का टाइम आ गया।
Will the BJP buck the trend?
गुजरात ने नफरत।
Who has more at stake? Whose promises resonate?
कांग्रेस के समय में घोटाले गिनना मुश्किल है और भाजपा के समय में घोटाले ढूंढना मुश्किल है।
And who will make it on counting day?
इनको वोट दोगे, ये आपके बच्चों को जहरीली शराब पिलाएंगे। मुझे वोट दोगे, मैं आपके बच्चों के लिए स्कूल बनाऊंगा, आपके बच्चों को नौकरी दूंगा।
डबल इंजन की सिर्फ बातें हैं, आगे बढ़ाने की कोई बात नहीं।
December 8th with Arnab.
Top headlines at 1 p.m. India takes the lead at G20. Back-to-back engagements and bilaterals at G20 for Prime Minister Modi. The picture that speaks 1,000 words about India's stature as world leaders salute India's leadership. Missile strike Poland, killing 2 US suspects. It could have been from Ukraine and not Russia. Donald Trump makes it official. He will run against Biden in the 2024 US presidential polls. Killer Aaftab to put through narco test to establish chain of events and missing evidence. cash for tickets scandal hits Aap ahead of MCD elections. Aap MLAs, family members and associates arrested. A very good afternoon. Thanks for tuning into Republic TV. You're watching Live and Breaking with me, Nivedna Prabhu. Of course, our top focus at this particular hour, where we're getting in more leads in the Shraddha murder case. Now, the Delhi police sources have informed that Aaftab had planned the murder. It was not in the fit of rage or anger. Now, remember, this is as, of course, the Delhi police are investigating this particular matter and the angle of others who regularly came and the crime scene even after Shraddha's murder. Now, in fact, we're also picking up that particular kind of books and literature has been found at the crime scene. So police are also probing role of other suspects. Now, of course, there are more details that are emerging from the Shraddha murder case. Now, in fact, a while ago also we were learning that the Delhi police are also going to be conducting a narco test on Aaftab Amin Poonawala. Now, the latest that we're learning in this is that the Delhi police sources have informed that Aaftab had planned the murder and it was not in the fit of rage or anger. In fact, we have our executive editor Aishwarya Kapoor also joining us from the Delhi newsroom to give us more details about this. Aishwarya, of course, this was all along something that the police were also probably looking at with the fact of the chain of sequence of events. If you were to talk about the fact that the couple was initially from Mumbai, then they went on this trip to Himachal Pradesh, and then, of course, they were living in this particular place in Chhatarpur. And now with the fact that the angle that is coming out, that it was not in the fit of rage or anger, this could have pretty much been a well-planned murder.
Well, absolutely, Nivedna. That is what we are being clearly told by our sources, that it was a well-planned murder. It was planned at least a week prior. That is what has come after the preliminary interrogation of Aaftab, the man behind this monstrous murder. And not only this, there is no remorse. Delhi police, according to our sources, is going to mention in its report that there is no remorse. There is no remorse. He's not feeling sad. And hence they feel, and also there are certain other particular tips and information which they have gathered after the interrogation of Aaftab, that this was a premeditated murder. It was a well-planned murder, not in any fit of rage, anger, as it was being told initially. No. Also the three individuals, in which there is one female and two male, who were regularly coming to this crime scene even after the murder of Shraddha. The Delhi police is going to continue their investigation in this regard, because according to our sources, they are still not convinced. Though Aaftab is denying that anyone else was not even involved but not even aware, but Delhi police is still investigating that angle according to our sources, because there were at least three individuals who were regularly coming to the crime scene, and to miss the stinge, to miss the blood spots, because the information coming in that he was still taking out food and water from the same fridge. So how can this 1, 2 or 3 individuals who were regularly coming to the crime scene, to this flat where the murder, the monstrous murder, the inhuman act took place, were not aware? They did not notice. So Delhi police is just not ready to accept a no, which Aaftab is saying, because yes, he has accepted to the crime, but simultaneously our sources are clearly telling us that there is no remorse on his face or his emotions, and he has not expressed any remorse. The indications are that it was a well-planned murder to the point that the weapons were bought at least a week prior, the money for the fridge. So all of those details are coming out, which suggests that it was a well-planned murder. But the only angle which the investigation is going to continue at this very point is that those three individuals who were regularly coming to the crime scene, to this flat, how can they miss the blood spots which are still present in the kitchen? How can they miss the stench, the smell of a body being kept in a normal fridge? How can they miss? They cannot. And that's why police will continue the investigation according to our sources. And also, yes, a lot of books, particular kind of literature has also been recovered and is in police custody at this point of time. Back to you, Nivedna.
Right, Aishwarya, of course, as you're pointing out, the Delhi police is investigating now. The other big breakthrough in this was that the narco test will be also conducted. So in a way for the police, as with Aaftab, on one hand is changing his statements frequently. So obviously the narco test in some way would aid the police to get further leads.
Well, absolutely. Narco test is a very important step in this regard, but also is to get the reality. How it happened, was there anyone else involved? Because for him, for Aaftab to dispose of, because we are being told, though these are disturbing information, that the lower half of the body, the lower back of the body, because he had literally chopped the body of Shraddha into more than 30 pieces. So the lower half of the body has been found, a part has been found in the drain. So he was desperate to get rid of the evidence of the body. And in that he has committed certain stupidity, which is now helping the Delhi police to find as evidence. And hence Delhi police say that they are not ready to accept a simple no from Aaftab, that no one else was involved. And that's why they want to continue the investigation. And even in the narco test, they're going to categorically ask. Because people were coming in. And narco test will help unsolving a lot of problems and lot of questions of the Delhi police, because they believe that they will be able to get the truth out of this man behind the monstrous act. Back to you.
Right, Aishwarya, stay with us. We also understand that Sampatra Patil of the Manipur police has reacted about this incident. Let's listen into what he had to say.
मेरे को 50,000 विड्रॉ हुआ है, उसके बाद में 5,000 6,000 ऐसा 2-3 बार विड्रॉ हुआ है उसका अकाउंट से।
एटीएम कार्ड, क्रेडिट कार्ड का भी इस्तेमाल हुआ है?
नहीं, वो बैंक अकाउंट डिटेल्स उसके साथ से खाली विड्रॉल का अपने पास इंफॉर्मेशन है। वो ये श्रद्धा और वो आफ्ताब दोनों का मोबाइल हमने एनालिसिस किया था, मोबाइल का तांत्रिक विश्लेषण किया था, बैंक डिटेल्स दिया था, जो नाडर है उसका स्टेटमेंट रिकॉर्ड किया था, आफ्ताब को बुलाया था, उसका स्टेटमेंट रिकॉर्ड किया था। ये जो सारी चीज़ सामने हमारे आए और जब हमें लगा कि विसंगति उसमें है, पैसा विड्रॉ हुआ है, जो मोबाइल 2.5-3 महीने से मोबाइल बंद है, वो हिसाब से हमें किधर ना किधर हमें डाउट लग रहा था।
Aishwarya, back to you. Of course, now the fact that the police is also pointing out these financial details and angles to it, if you could give us more details on that front that are now emerging.
Well, the fridge was bought via online payment. Police is also looking in that whether Aaftab used Shraddha's account, Shraddha's money after killing her. So all of these details are being found out, because what we are being told initially that Aaftab had the details, the PIN, the password, whatever is the required information to use Shraddha's account. So how much money was used by Aaftab? Because money...
All right, that was of course Aishwarya Kapoor getting us the latest inputs in terms of the Shraddha's murder case. What we're understanding so far, of course, is the Delhi police is on one hand recreating the scene as well, along with the accused Aaftab, but on the other hand, other details are also emerging. In fact, a narco test will also be conducted to draw the chain of events. And on the other hand, like the police official also stated, that according to the bank details, on 18th of May, 50,000 was withdrawn, later on 5,000, and then later 2,000, which of course will be crucial in this particular case. We will, of course, continue to get further inputs and developments about this particular story that's coming in. But for now, moving on to other stories that we're tracking at this hour. Prime Minister Modi met French President Emmanuel Macron on the sidelines of the G20 summit at Bali in Indonesia. Now, the Prime Minister further has bilateral meets scheduled with leaders of at least 7 countries as a part of the summit. Prime Minister Modi and US President Joe Biden, while visiting a mangrove forest as a part of the G20 summit in Bali, saluted each other as the leaders gathered in the forest. US President Joe Biden called for an emergency meet of G7 and NATO countries over the missiles that landed in Poland and led to 2 casualties, with the US President stating that it was unlikely the missiles had originated from Russia. The Russian Defense Ministry released a statement denying responsibility for the missiles that hit Poland, further calling such statements by the Polish media statements deliberate provocation aimed at escalating the situation. Ukrainian President Zelensky called the missile attack in Poland a significant escalation owing to Poland being a NATO country. The Ukrainian president further announced Ukraine's support for Poland, stating that Ukraine was aware that the violence would not be limited to the country's borders, as was the case of Moldova. Former US President Donald Trump has announced his plans to run for president in the 2024 presidential elections, with the campaign being his third for the position. Hitting out at the current US President Joe Biden as he announced his candidacy, Donald Trump hit out at the current US administration's economic policies, further stating that Joe Biden has destroyed the economy of the United States.
Complicated a little bit is what's happened to so many other things. I believe originally started by this energy disaster. We were $1.87 a gallon for gasoline, and now it's hitting $5, $6, $7, and even $8, and it's going to go really bad. The socialist disaster known as the Green New Deal, which is destroying our country, and the many crippling regulations that it has spawned, will be immediately terminated so that our country can again breathe and grow and thrive like it should.
Hitting out the current US President Joe Biden has announced his candidacy. Now, Donald Trump hit out at the current US administration's economy policies, further stating that Joe Biden had destroyed the economy of the United States. An Aap MLA from Model Town in New Delhi, Akhilesh Tripathi, has been accused of demanding 90 lakh rupees for an MCD election from the wife of the complainant in a case that was taken up by Delhi's Anti-Corruption Bureau. An investigation later led to arrest of at least 3 people along with Aap MLA's brother-in-law. At least 10 pieces of bone have been found amid the investigation in Shraddha's murder, with the police further having found bloodstains in the kitchen of the house. Prime Minister Modi addressed the Bengaluru Tech Summit, with the Prime Minister stating how technology had become a weapon to combat poverty in the country.
India is using technology as a weapon in the war against poverty. Under Swamitva scheme, we are using drones to map land in rural areas. Then property cards are given to the people. This reduces land disputes.
Moving on to more breaking news that's coming in. Republic is learning that more gelatin sticks have been recovered from Udaipur. Now, this comes after Rajasthan police stated that the railway track explosion case is an act of terror. Now, remember, even the NSG had stepped in to take cognizance of this incident, and investigation was currently underway. But what we're learning so far is that 8 cartons with 186 gelatin sticks have been seized in the Udaipur blast case. And this comes after the fact that the Rajasthan police have also spoken about this and said that the Udaipur track explosion case is an act of terror. So that's the latest that we're learning so far. Now, this, of course, was discovered near the Babana Bridge in the Durganpur district of Aspur town, which is roughly 70 kilometers from Udaipur. So this development, of course, comes a few days after the explosion of the Udaipur-Ahmedabad railway tracks at the Oda Bridge. And we're learning that the police have allegedly discovered gelatin sticks from the Som River close to the Gadanath settlement. Now, sources are also telling us that the explosive substance is long. It was submerged in water. Now, of course, the matter is being looked into by the police. Reports are also suggesting that villagers observed sacks in the river water and the cops were notified of the same. So that's a big breakthrough that's coming in the Udaipur explosion case. Now, for more on this, we have Amardeep who's joining us to give us the latest. Amardeep, हमें बताइए, अभी हमें we're getting the information कि 8 cartons with 186 gelatin sticks have been seized. लेकिन इसके बारे में और आप क्या बता सकते हैं हमें?
देखिए, सबसे बड़ा सवाल यह है कि 146 किलो विस्फोटक इलाके से जो है वो निकाल के दी जाती है, लेकिन सबसे बड़ा खुलासा ये देखिए आप, यहाँ पे अभी इस इलाके में रिपब्लिक की टीम जब छानबीन कर रही थी तो उसकी इन्वेस्टिगेशन में ये जिलेटिन की भारी मात्रा में विस्फोटक मिला है, जिसकी जानकारी हमने पुलिस को दी है। लेकिन सबसे बड़ी चीज़ ये है कि आखिर जाँच एजेंसियाँ और जो राजस्थान की पुलिस है, जिसकी जिम्मेदारी बनती थी कि इलाके की छानबीन करती, लेकिन 186 kg जिलेटिन की छड़ें पकड़कर जब्त कर ली गई। लेकिन जो मेन जगह थी, जो ये जंगल का इलाका था, उसमें छानबीन नहीं की। हमने जब इस जंगल को छानने की कोशिश की तो आप यहां देखेंगे कि 1 2 3 4 5 जिलेटिन की थैलियां, जिसमें अलग अलग करीब समझ सकते हैं कि 150 से 200 स्टिक जो है जिलेटिन की बारूद की वो मिली है। भारी मात्रा में यहाँ पे जिलेटिन की छड़ें जो है वो मिली है। और दूसरी तरफ आप देख सकते हैं कि यहाँ पे ये ब्रिज जो है, इसी ब्रिज के नीचे विस्फोटक मिला था। 186 kg विस्फोटक पुलिस ने पकड़ा था। लेकिन यहाँ से जैसे ही जो पुलिस का इलाका है उसको पुलिस ने छानबीन नहीं किया और महज जांच के नाम पे इतरिशी कर ली। सिर्फ और सिर्फ एक जो कहते हैं कि छोटा सा काम जो उनका था वो काम करके और आगे निकल गए। लेकिन जिस तरीके से ये आप तस्वीरें देख रहे हैं लाइव, ये हमारी इन्वेस्टिगेशन में निकला है और रिपब्लिक की इन्वेस्टिगेशन में ये निकल के सामने आया कि किस तरीके से जिलेटिन की छड़ें जो हैं वो जंगल में मिली है। दूसरी तरफ हम इस पूरे इलाके की और छानबीन करना चाहेंगे। देखिए, तो 2 तस्वीरें और हैं, एक तस्वीर और निकल के सामने आई। देखिए, ये बिल्कुल लाइव तस्वीरें हम आपको दिखा रहे हैं इस जंगल में। ये आप देखेंगे, ये आप तस्वीरें देखेंगे जहाँ पे इतनी भारी मात्रा में और पैकेट्स हैं। 1 2 3 4 5 6 से ज़्यादा पैकेट्स यहाँ पे मिले हैं। आप देख सकते हैं 200 से 300 स्टिक जो हैं जिलेटिन की वो यहाँ पे पड़ी हुई मिली है। और इसी तरीके का ये पूरा का पूरा जो इलाका है, यहाँ पे पुलिस ने कोई छानबीन नहीं की, किसी भी तरीके की कोई यहाँ पे लोगों से पूछताछ नहीं की। लेकिन जब हम इन्वेस्टिगेशन यहाँ जांच करने के लिए हम खुद निकले, इन्वेस्टिगेशन किया, तो इस इन्वेस्टिगेशन में, रिपब्लिक के इन्वेस्टिगेशन में ये सब कुछ निकल के आया कि जिलेटिन की छड़ें जो है वो किस तरीके से यहाँ पे पड़ी हैं, ओपन पड़ी हुई हैं। यानी कि साजिश कोई किसी भी तरीके से कर सकता है। पुलिस ने अपना खुफिया तंत्र जो था, जो अपनी इंटेलिजेंसी थी, उसको दुरुस्त नहीं किया और उस दुरुस्ती के कारण ही यहाँ पे इस तरीके की जो जिलेटिन की छड़ें हैं वो मिली है। तस्वीरें हम आपको वापस से दिखाना चाहेंगे कि किस तरीके से ये पूरा इलाका है। और यहाँ हम जब इन्वेस्टिगेशन कर रहे थे तो यहाँ पे ये सारी चीज़ें मिली हैं। कुछ ग्रामीण महिलाएं हैं जो यहाँ पे आई हैं, इनसे पूछेंगे, इनसे बातचीत करने की कोशिश करेंगे कि इसके बारे में इनको पता है। आप लोगों को कुछ पता है इसके बारे में? नहीं पता। आप ऐसे मतलब कि यहाँ पे चारा वारा लेने के लिए आते हैं जंगल में?
सारा वाला ये मुँह बोगरा काटने के लिए आई, काई देख दिया એટલે आपको देखा या। हाँ, हिम नाकिया कणी यो पता नहीं है मेरे को।
अच्छा, आपको पता नहीं? आपको पता है ये क्या चीज है? आपको पता है?
नहीं पता है, ये चीज है, ये पता नहीं है। कागज देखी काले वेंटा,
ये जिलेटिन की छड़ें हैं। देखिए, सबसे बड़ी चीज है कि यहाँ के आसपास में जो चारावाह होती हैं महिलाएं, जो अपना चारा काट करके लेके जाती हैं, वो इस इलाके में घूम रही थी। जब हम यहाँ पे इन्वेस्टिगेशन कर रहे थे उसके बाद उन्होंने भी ये चीज देखी कि यहाँ पे इतना बड़ा सामान रखा हुआ है। हम सबसे पहले इन चीजों को देख करके एकदम से चौंक गए कि आखिर इतनी बड़ी तादाद में ये सारी चीजें जो हैं वो कैसे मिली, किस तरीके से मिली है। अरे यार,
देखो देखो, अजी ढूंढो, अजी ढूंढो। और ये तेरी मां जो रेल की पुल को उड़ाया था उदयपुर में, उसी को लेकर दूर है ना विस्फोटक ही उड़ जाएगा। ये वही है दूसरा। हेलो, यहाँ से ये नहीं देखा, ये नहीं मिल।
Right, that was our correspondent Amardeep getting us the latest information as we're pointing out those exclusive visuals as well that you can see on your screen. This is a big lead in the Udaipur blast case. Now remember, now this time around more gelatin sticks have been recovered from Udaipur, like Amardeep was stating that these are the exclusive visuals that we're showing you of those gelatin sticks that have been found at this particular area. Now this of course comes after the Rajasthan police had stated that the railway track explosion is an act of terror. In fact, talking about the security agencies as well who had stepped into this particular case included the teams of the National Investigative Agency as well as the National Security Guard, who had earlier on Monday visited the site of explosion and also collected evidence as well. So obviously police officials had also earlier stated that all angles were being investigated. In fact, a couple of days ago after the incident that had taken place, Chief Minister of Rajasthan had also reacted saying that he has asked the police officials to take cognizance of the matter and swift action as well. But now these are of course the visuals that we are showing you right now exclusively on Republic, where we're understanding that 200 kg of gelatin and in 7 sacks have been recovered 70 kilometers away from the explosion site. This is of course a big breakthrough in this particular case. Now of course this comes. The Udaipur railway line blast is a terror incident which is now being investigated by anti-terror squad and special operations group of police following the directions from Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot. But on the other hand, of course, this is the latest big breakthrough that's coming in, where police have recovered 200 kgs explosive material containing gelatin in 7 different sacks. But what is important to remember is this is around 70 kilometers away from the blast site. We'll, of course, go back to Amardeep in a bit to give us more information about that.
पब्लिक के इन्वेस्टिगेशन जो की है उस इन्वेस्टिगेशन में आप देखिए सबसे बड़ा विस्फोटक मिला है। यहाँ पे जब रिपब्लिक की टीम जंगलों में सबूत जुटाने की कोशिश कर रही थी कि आखिर विस्फोटक आया कैसे होगा, तभी इतनी भारी मात्रा में जिलेटिन की छड़ें मिली हैं। इतना बड़ा विस्फोटक मिला है जिसके बारे में पुलिस को जानकारी नहीं है। पुलिस को रिपब्लिक की टीम ने दी है। यहाँ आप देखिए सबसे बड़ा खुलासा आपके सामने हो रहा है। इस तरीके की पॉलिथीन में अलग अलग जिलेटिन की छड़ी मिली है। विस्फोटक कितना बड़ा है आप देख सकते हैं। 186 केजी विस्फोटक को इसी अलग इलाके से, नदी वाले इलाके से पुलिस ने पकड़ा था। लेकिन जब रिपब्लिक की टीम ने इन्वेस्टिगेशन किया तो उसके बाद इतनी भारी मात्रा में ये सारी चीजें नजर आई हैं। और ये ऐसा पहला मौका नहीं है, इसके अलावा भी दूसरी जगह हम आपको ले चलते हैं। यहाँ पे आप देखेंगे ये दूसरी जगह है, ये दूसरा स्पॉट है। इस दूसरे स्पॉट में देखेंगे यहाँ पे भी करीब 5 से 7 थैलियां हैं जिन बैग्स में ये जिलेटिन की छड़ें हैं। ये पूरा का पूरा विस्फोटक है। आप समझ सकते हैं ये कितना गंभीर मामला हो सकता है। राजस्थान पुलिस ऐसे कैसे चूक कर सकती है? जब इलाके में इतनी भारी मात्रा में विस्फोटक मिला तो उसके बाद सघन अभियान चलाना चाहिए था, इलाके को पूरा छानबीन करना चाहिए था। लेकिन यहाँ पे जब रिपब्लिक की टीम पहुंचती है और रिपब्लिक की टीम छानबीन करती है तो उसके बाद पता चलता है कि इतनी भारी मात्रा में विस्फोटक मिला है। और अभी हमने पुलिस को इतला की है, सूचना दी है। यहाँ जिस तरीके की सिचुएशन बनी है उस सिचुएशन को आप देख सकते हैं, आप सोच सकते हैं कि कितनी गंभीरता के साथ है। तीसरे स्पॉट पर मैं आपको लेकर जाना चाहूँगा और दर्शक देखें कि राजस्थान पुलिस जो है वो कितनी बड़ी चूक करती है। ना जांच करती है, ना कुछ उनके हाथ में होता है। बावजूद इसके यहाँ पे आप देखिए, ये तस्वीरें देखें आप। मैं इससे कहना चाहूँगा कि तस्वीर दिखाएं। ये जिलेटिन की छड़ें यहाँ भी पड़ी हुई हैं, ये जिलेटिन की छड़ें यहाँ पड़ी हुई हैं। ये चौथा स्पॉट देखिए, यहाँ पे जिलेटिन की छड़ें पड़ी हुई हैं। ये तस्वीरें बता रही हैं कि किस तरीके से 186 केजी विस्फोटक पकड़ के महज अपनी जांच पूरी करने का काम पुलिस ने किया है। लेकिन इलाके को छाना नहीं। पीछे की तरफ आप देखेंगे, ये जो पीछे की तरफ जो ब्रिज है, इस ब्रिज के नीचे ही विस्फोटक मिला था 186 केजी। लेकिन तस्वीरें यहाँ वापस से तस्वीरें दिखाएं। यहाँ रिपब्लिक की टीम ने छानबीन की है, ना सेंट्रल की आईबी टीम ने कुछ छाना, ना ही यहाँ पे किसी और टीम ने छानबीन की। राजस्थान पुलिस के फेलियर यहाँ पे दिखाता है कि किस तरीके से यहाँ पे किस तरीके से फेलियर रहा है। ना केंद्र ने, ना स्टेट की इंटेलिजेंसी ने ध्यान दिया और इसी वजह से शायद इतना बड़ा हादसा होते होते बच गया। जो उदयपुर में ब्लास्टिंग हुई, पावर ब्लास्ट था। पावर ब्लास्ट से महज 70 किलोमीटर की दूरी पर जब हमने इन्वेस्टिगेशन की और यहाँ पे दिखाने की कोशिश की, मैं वापस से उसी जगह पर लेकर के जाऊँगा जिस जगह पे आप देखेंगे कि भारी मात्रा में भारी तादाद में यहाँ पे जिलेटिन की छड़ें हैं। ये वापस से मैं वीडियो जर्नलिस्ट मैं से कहना चाहूँगा, कोशिश करते हैं हम इनको काउंटिंग करने की कितनी होगी। ये अंदाज़ा इसमें लग रहा है कि करीब 5 बैग्स में करीब 200 से 250 जिलेटिन की छड़ें हैं जो विस्फोट में काम में ली जाती हैं। और यहाँ ये बिल्कुल आप देख सकते हैं कि यहाँ ज़्यादा छेड़छाड़ हम इसलिए भी नहीं करना चाहते क्योंकि ये पार्ट पुलिस का है इन्वेस्टिगेशन करने का काम, लेकिन हम अपने दर्शकों को ये बताना चाहते हैं कि जब रिपब्लिक ग्राउंड जीरो पर आया और ग्राउंड जीरो पर हमने यहाँ कुछ सबूत जुटाने की कोशिश की, सोचा कि यहाँ पे आकर के देखा जाए कि क्यों विस्फोटक लगाना चाहते थे, किसकी क्या मंशा रही होगी, तो यहाँ पे इतनी भारी मात्रा में, इतनी भारी तादाद में विस्फोटक मिला है। आप समझ सकते हैं, आप देख सकते हैं ये तस्वीरें। इन तस्वीरों को देखने के बाद में केंद्र सरकार की एजेंसियों को और राजस्थान सरकार की एजेंसियों को सोचना पड़ेगा, राजस्थान पुलिस को सोचना पड़ेगा कि आखिर उन्होंने 186 किलो जिलेटिन की छड़ें बरामद तो कर ली, लेकिन उसके बाद इस इलाके में सघन अभियान क्यों नहीं चलाया। जब रिपब्लिक की टीम पहुंच करके इन्वेस्टिगेशन करती है, यहाँ जांच करती है, यहाँ सबूत जुटाने की कोशिश करती है, तो इनको यहाँ इतनी भारी मात्रा में जिलेटिन की छड़ें मिलती हैं। और ये इलाका आपको बताऊं, सबसे पहले बताता हूँ, दूसरी तस्वीर आप दिखाएं, ये ब्रिज जो है, इस ब्रिज में आपको यहाँ
Well, that was Amardeep, of course, getting us the latest inputs. And Republic, of course, is the only channel to be reporting live from this recovery site in Udaipur, where an alarming development has happened in the Udaipur case. We'll, of course, keep going back to him to get the latest developments on that particular story. But moving on to more breaking news that's coming in right now. Now, India, of course, takes the lead at G20, back-to-back engagements and bilaterals at G20 for Prime Minister Modi, and he has now set the ball rolling with the message on war. Now, of course, we did see Prime Minister Modi also make that statement yesterday, but on the broadcast right now, we also have Aarti Tikku Singh, senior journalist as well as co-founder of the New Indian, joining us live from Bali, Indonesia. Aarti, thank you for joining us on Republic TV. A very good afternoon to you. We also see the fact that, yesterday Prime Minister Modi did give a very strong message that the Russia-Europe war should be stopped. This, of course, is great news for India on an international platform, but to kind of see how this message is being taken very well.
Russia, and if you did see the joint declaration of the G20 leaders, it is quite evident that not everyone agreed to condemn Russia over Ukraine. We don't know who are the member countries of the G20 grouping which did not agree, but one, of course, is very sure that Russia did not agree condemnation against itself, and that is why Russia's Foreign Minister Lavrov left G20 summit midway. We also know that most of the member states of the G20 grouping did condemn Russia against its aggression it has been showing towards Ukraine. And I think that you can say by and large most of the countries have sort of backed the United States and the NATO countries, the West in fact, over the war in Ukraine. And I think it's also in tune with what Prime Minister Modi has been asking repeatedly for several months now to the leadership in Moscow as well as Kyiv. In fact, India has taken a very balanced approach and balanced stand on the issue and asked both sides to stop the war and sit across the table to resolve the issue through dialogue. I think this message clearly sounded, had a lot of backing, lot of support at the G20 summit. But sure, Russia and perhaps some more countries were not in agreement.
Aarti, since you mentioned that some of the countries were not in agreement, in fact, I can see that there were some fissures within the grouping on the wording of the communique itself. Remember, the leaders summit of the finance ministers of G20, of the health ministers of G20, of the foreign ministers of G20. In none of those summits, any communique or joint communique could be issued. But this time I think we have succeeded, despite the fact that Para 3, for example, observes that there were differences within the leaders as to how much to really criticize Russia or pan-Russia for the Europe war. But still, I think some deft diplomacy happened and a communique could come out. How much role you think India played in that, Indian diplomats played in that? The fact that Prime Minister Modi's 5 words to President Putin, this is not an era for war, also find mention in the communique. Aarti.
Well, clearly you can see the imprint of Indian influence on the communique. You can see that India has, actually we know that India has very good relationship with both sides of the war. In fact, India's relationship with the United States and its historic relationship with Russia clearly gave India an advantage to influence the outcome of the G20 summit. We do know that Prime Minister Modi commands a lot of respect across the G20 leadership. In fact, if you remember, even President Putin, while not actually agreeing to end the war with Ukraine, during his meeting with Prime Minister Modi, he was quite deferential, and he did mention in that meeting with the Prime Minister also that we hear you and we understand your concerns and anxiety, but it's the NATO, it's the West which is not agreeing to ending the war in Ukraine. But I think today at the G summit, as you rightly pointed out, that there is a certain amount of success in bringing out a joint declaration, even though the wording is very careful, because not everyone was on the same page as most of the countries were. So I think by and large, the positive outcome from the G20 summit, you can certainly credit it to India, because India has persistently maintained the line that the two sides should call for a ceasefire and come to the table for a dialogue.
Well, yes, Aarti, quickly another question, and that is very important. Apart from India's imprint being there on the joint communique, what was the scene like on the ground since you have been there for the last 3 days? The kind of energy, the kind of chemistry that the leaders shared, anything specific that you would want viewers in India to know? How Prime Minister engaged with other leaders, how he was treated by, we have seen him we have seen him engaging with President Joe Biden, for example, and Emmanuel Macron of France, but with other leaders. For example, did Prime Minister bump into Mohammed bin Salman, who was in fact slated to be in New Delhi just ahead of the G20 summit? And how does the picture look there on the ground in terms of India's upcoming presidency?
Well, clearly, if you noticed Prime Minister Modi's body language, he exuded a lot of confidence, exuded assertiveness, and at the same time exuded cooperation with the entire G20 leadership. And we saw the pictures and the video clips that emerged from the summit since yesterday. We saw that he was greeted with a lot of warmth, with a lot of respect from the entire leadership. Even as, there are clear tensions between the United States and Turkey, the United States and Russia, and other countries as well. But Prime Minister Modi was in a very good spot. He managed to have great, he exchanged pleasantries even with Xi Jinping, with whom he has not had any bilateral and with whom he has not actually spoken since the standoff at the line of actual control in Ladakh. But having said that, I think it was quite clear that even as there is an economic slowdown, which is quite, troublesome for the US, for Europe. We know that Europe's economy has taken a major hit. We also know the United Kingdom is in a serious economic crisis. And yet the at the B20 summit, the Business 20 summit, one could see that there was a lot of energy, lot of enthusiasm of startups, of young entrepreneurs. And we could also see that the G20 leadership seems to not as worried as one would think that they should be. Clearly, the projection of future seems to be bright and not gloomy. And even as the IMF has, come up with its projections showing that there will be an economic slowdown in the US and even in Europe. But that did not seem to have any impact on the G20 summit. There was a lot of energy and vibrancy at Bali this time.
All right, Aarti Tiku Singh joining us there live from Bali, Indonesia, covering the G20 summit. Thank you so much, Aarti. They are telling us how the mood was upbeat and confident that the world can come together and deliver solutions. Of course, now India taking over the presidency of G20. Thank you, Aarti, for joining us live from Bali.
Thanks.
यहाँ पे जिस तरीके से विस्फोटक मिला है, सवाल जरूर खड़े होते हैं राजस्थान की सरकार पर, केंद्र की इंटेलिजेंसी पर। इंटेलिजेंसी फेलियर यहाँ रहा है, इससे कहने में कोई गुरेज नहीं है। यहाँ पे सेंट्रल आईबी की टीम भी आई थी, लेकिन वो भी कुछ यहाँ नहीं कर पाई। लेकिन सवाल दोनों ही एजेंसियों से है, सरकार की एजेंसियों से है, केंद्र की सरकार की एजेंसियों से है कि आखिर इतने बड़ी तादाद में विस्फोटक मिलता है तो वो इतनी शीघ्र क्यों करके गए, क्यों उन्होंने इस आसपास के इलाके को छानबीन नहीं की, क्यों इलाके में इस तरीके की गतिविधियों को चेक नहीं किया, आखिर ये विस्फोटक आया कहां से, कौन संदिग्ध थे, क्या मंशा रही होगी, किस तरीके का उनका टारगेट था। ये तमाम चीज़ जो है वो हम आपको कंटिन्यू दिखा रहे हैं। दर्शक हमारे देख रहे हैं कि यहाँ पे अभी सीआईडी की जो टीम है वो पहुंची है और वो अब यहाँ से जानकारी जुटा रही है। तो लोकल इंटेलिजेंसी के तौर पर यहाँ पे अभी पुलिस के जवान पहुंचे हैं, लेकिन सबसे बड़ा सवाल यह है कि इंटेलिजेंसी फेलियर है, आसपास के इलाके में सर्च क्यों नहीं किया गया। सघन तलाशी अभियान ना तो केंद्र की एजेंसियों ने लिया और ना ही राज्य की एजेंसियों ने यहाँ पर बातचीत करने की कोशिश की, ना ही तलाशी ली। पीछे की तरफ आप जो इलाका देख रहे हैं, ये तमाम इलाका जो है, इससे समझ में आता है कि किस तरीके से यहाँ सवाल खड़े होते हैं। वापस से बार बार सवाल खड़े कर रहे हैं हम कि केंद्र सरकार की चाहे जांच एजेंसियां हो या फिर राज्य सरकार की इंटेलिजेंसी फेलियर की बात करें, ये तमाम जो तस्वीरें हैं ये इस बात का सबूत है कि सघन तलाशी अभियान जो है वो नहीं लिया गया। अगर सघन तलाशी अभियान लिया जाता तो इतनी बड़ी मात्रा में ये जिलेटिन की छड़ें यहाँ नहीं मिलती और जो आंकड़ा था 186 का, वो 186 से बढ़कर कुछ और बड़ा हो सकता था, क्योंकि जिस तरीके से यहाँ पे एक बड़ी खेप मिली है, ये कह सकते हैं कि एक बड़ी खेप है और अलग अलग पैकेट्स में यहाँ पे अलग अलग पॉली बैग्स में यहाँ पे जिलेटिन की छड़ें मिली हैं। तो कह सकते हैं एक बड़ा टारगेट यहाँ पे था, एक बड़ी नंबर्स थी, लेकिन ये कौन रख के गया, क्या मंशा था, किस तरीके का टारगेट था। ये पीछे जो मेरे ब्रिज देख रहे हैं, इसी ब्रिज के ठीक नीचे 186 किलो विस्फोटक जिलेटिन की छड़ें पुलिस ने बरामद की। और बरामद कब की? जब ग्रामीणों ने पुलिस को सूचना दी, उसके बाद। अब यहाँ रिपब्लिक की टीम जब सबूत जुटाने की कोशिश कर रही थी तो उसके बाद यहां आप देख सकते हैं, सोच सकते हैं, समझ सकते हैं कि इतनी बड़ी तादाद में यहां पर न सिर्फ जिलेटिन की छड़ें मिली हैं, बल्कि